Video started? Okay. I'd like to start the workshop. It's 5:34, I guess, on April 8th, 2025. I'd like to discuss the proposed bylaws, and does anybody have anything to add to our bylaws? Everybody happy with them at this point?
The changes are made.
Yeah, changes are all made. Yeah. You guys get copies of the bylaws?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget I had this other piece thing.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So you're gonna add that now?
Well, we're thinking about maybe amending that afterwards or something, unless you want to do that right now. I'm just anxious to get the bylaws passed so that we can kick that 28-day requirement in and the 14-day requirement for us to get our information.
Yep.
We put this off for quite a while, and so that's why I'm kind of anxious to do it.
Yeah, we've been at it for several months.
Yeah. So what we, Bob has an amendment that he'd like to add to the bylaws, but we can do that. We could pass the bylaws tonight and then amend them at another meeting.
Why couldn't we do it all tonight?
Well, we probably could, but I was kind of hoping you would sign the copy at the same time. If we sign this so that it's official tonight in our regular meeting, then we could amend this copy.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But we can have the discussion about it.
Yeah, we can have the discussion about it. Sure, we can do that right now if you'd like.
Yeah.
This is the amendment.
Yeah, that's the amendment.
Was built into
So just put that over and see what you think about it. Thank you. It's a workshop, so we're not going to pass anything right now, but I just thought we might discuss it later in the meeting. So that would be added into page 6, G.
I think that's the best place for it.
Yeah. Yeah, right after F. Yeah. And like I say, we could do that at any planning board meeting. We could do that at our next meeting if we'd like on the 29th, if we choose to do that.
So are you in discussion on this edition, or are you on the whole?
Well, we've already agreed on
This?
the.
You're going to sign that tonight?
Yes, on the bylaws themselves. This is would be an amendment to the bylaws.
Good.
So, everybody good with that? Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So now,
So another question, were you talking about this one?
yes.
The only question I have, or only statement I have is that within your bylaws, which are not an ordinance, they're
Right.
just how the board reacts. The only thing I would say is that you might want to discuss with the town manager or the attorney, I don't know, is that you are imposing an expense on an applicant, which I would think would have to be through the ordinance, not through policy.
Well,
This
that's
was
what,
recommended by the attorney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually recommended by the.
So we already
Go ahead.
went through that,
Okay,
so.
it's different, but okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
so, do we want to talk about the ordinances as these proposed ordinances that we're going to vote to have a public hearing on the 29th? We'll take a vote tonight. No, we're going to have to vote on this at our regular meeting. Yes, okay. Yeah.
Before you go, David, do you want to ask Eric, make sure that this gets on next month's agenda?
Sure.
so we don't forget.
Okay, all right.
What are we discussing, gentlemen?
So are you guys
We're talking about making sure this gets on the agenda for the 29th.
Oh,
Yeah,
addition to the bylaws?
yeah.
Yep.
To discuss this and possibly add this amendment to the, have you got another copy of this?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, there's
I think.
wedding ring.
There it is. I knew there was one.
thanks again, Garrett, for doing this in color.
Oh, no problem.
That's
that's a good
so much
It was
easier.
kind of fun. I kind of like that.
What do you think of that? You keep that copy. That, so the talk is that, that we would vote on the bylaws tonight at our regular meeting, and possibly add that portion as an amendment to the bylaws at our next meeting.
Yeah?
Okay?
So I think on these ordinances, the colored guys,
Yeah.
that Garrett put in all the changes over there. I proofread it the likes, and it's exactly as we talked about.
Christina? Christina?
I put it up because it,
So, we suggested that we make these changes to the administration portion, section 7, at the last workshop meeting, but because it wasn't a regular planning board meeting, we didn't vote to approve those changes. So, and I don't even think that the planning board probably has to vote to make those changes, because this would be recommended by the ordinance review committee, but the planning board would probably have to approve them, right?
we have to go, it has to go through us.
Yeah, it has to go through us, right? So, we would probably want to, we can do one of two things. We can leave it just the way it was, or I think we could probably vote to make those changes at our regular hearing tonight. Is that going to affect the timeline on that ordinance though at all? If it is, I would propose that we leave it exactly the same as it was, because it's already been reviewed. It's already been reviewed. We made a change to something that had already been reviewed and approved. Is that going to mess things
Reviewed
up?
and approved by whom?
By the planning board.
And which one are you talking about?
This one right here, section 7. This is the one. This is the one that you wanted to delete.
Down at the completion of applications.
Yeah,
Just
completion
after
of
that.
applications.
Took off the end of the sentence.
Right.
Yeah, that was the one that the town, the public should not have the okay to
That's right.
determine the completeness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's important.
So I think we're okay, Dave, at this point.
You think we're okay? Okay.
I think it's okay for us to approve it again now that we've made these changes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that at our regular meeting then too.
Yeah.
The regular portion of the meeting, yeah. And what I would suggest is that at our meeting tonight, that we move the agenda item, first item, I would recommend that we adopt the bylaws tonight as agenda item number 1, and move that up from other business to old business. Excuse me. Over that. Yes, from other business to old business, so we'll put that.
You might want to allow the public that's coming in for its applications to go through it. And then afterwards, we can discuss, vote on it. Because that way they don't have to sit around while we carry on about it.
It's just that this approval of these ordinances, we have to do that, we have to put it on the agenda for the 29th, and I just want to make sure we didn't run out of time tonight.
Well, all right, if you want to do that, I was just suggesting that that's not normal practice, but go ahead.
Well, unless everybody wants to, if everybody agrees that if we run past 9 o'clock, that we'll stay and do this, because this has to be done today. Has to be put in the paper.
Let's do it then and not talk about it.
Okay, at least we'll do that first thing, first thing off the bat at our regular meeting here.
You're gonna switch the
Yeah.
agenda.
Gonna move the agenda, yeah.
So where exactly are you putting it in, Dick?
It would be,
You're switching
we would-
7 with, before 4, before 5.
Okay, got it.
You're putting it under old business right there.
Yes, yep, okay. First thing up
That'll
on
be
the.
A.
That'll be A, and
Yeah.
then B has to be B.
Right. And as far as the bylaws go, we could still leave that under other business, and hopefully we'll get to it tonight. If we don't, then we'll do it all at the next meeting, I guess. Okay?
Yeah, the other ones are all pre-application, so there's really no decision to be made, just a general discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about, the other item under other business, it actually is the, is the bylaws, so.
Doesn't look like we've got a crowd of people here for this.
We're early still.
And about 15 minutes to pack.
50 minutes
place.
over here.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to discuss at this workshop? We ran through that kind of quickly.
Oh, good.
Did you figure it out, Bob, about the, on section, the blue one, the first page? On the site plan review, was the impression you had whether it was 8 or 9?
It's supposed to be 9.
Supposed to be 9?
And also behind it, you'll see, is actually the whole piece of ordinance, just for us, for
Oh,
you
yeah.
to be able to see it there.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the other tables, remember we had a question about what do the numbers mean in the tables? Well, they just refer to some of the stuff that's already in the tables by number. So all they have to do is track the number back, and they'll see what it is. So I think they're all self-explanatory in terms of all the numbers and forms.
I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be the person typing this stuff up. Where's the type it, you? It's one ungodly job, thank you.
If we have a,
You did.
if we have a second, can I ask a question to the board? In the workshop?
You want to ask a question?
Yes.
Sure.
Under our ordinance for amended subdivision plan,
Okay.
how do we evaluate that? From an application standpoint, is it a new application? Is it a minor application? If the project was major, is it major still? We don't really address that in subdivision.
Yeah, I thought weren't we gonna change the, well, we weren't going to, we were gonna recommend the select board change the fee structure on
It is, but
that.
amendment is usually, it can be something very, very minor.
Yeah.
That has to be, because they altered the subdivision plan. It's something that's could be very, very minor. It might be an easement. Somebody may, 10 years down the road, decide to split one lot into subdivision. How do we review that? Do we look at it as that if if two parties decide to move a property line, that's an amended subdivision. How do we assess a value? How do we assess a criteria for reviewing that?
Well,
I'm just asking the board how we would like to look at those.
Sure. Are you involved in those?
No,
No.
I'm just bringing up a scenario that,
No, but I mean, would you, as the planner, be involved in those?
that's what I'm asking.
Well, we have an amended item before us tonight, right? And that came before the planning board. Because it was originally before the planning board.
I mean, in theory,
Autumn Lane,
Oh, okay.
right?
Right,
I'm
yes,
assuming
yes.
that's why we got it.
Yes, yeah, that's a perfect example.
So-
of it.
so-
I mean, that shows, to me, it's like, it's so relatively minor, there should be no escrow.
They're
It
putting a
just,
roof over a patio.
exactly, but because it's the structure size, it trips, to come to the board. But how do we assess that from a review standpoint? What, do I just say, fill out a site plan application, just put NA under everything? It seems like a waste of time too. Or should they be able just to write a simple cover letter explaining what they changed? But we don't have that. I'm saying,
Yeah,
there's
we
nothing
don't
in the
have-
ordinance that tells you direction of what, common sense would say that,
Yeah.
but common sense goes out the window.
more things to work on the ordinance.
Preferably, I would just like to say, you know, that they provide a cover letter just explaining what the changes are, and then, you know, then we can assess, you know. Because sometimes, I mean, an amendment to a subdivision, maybe they want to put 5 new lots in there, but it may be simple as a property line. So how do we decide what criteria box does that amendment fall
Right.
in?
Well, the thing is, that if you have to be involved in it, then in theory, there would have to be some sort of an escrow to pay for your fee, right?
It comes to the board.
Whether or not the number is substantially lower or not, would depend on how much time you'd have involved in it, right?
It would be, again, it shouldn't be the same as the regular site plan or subdivision escrow is what I'm getting at, but we don't have that establishment in there.
Well, we did have a discussion about a minor,
We did, but never,
it never went anywhere
Never
yet.
went anywhere.
Well, that's
That's-
up to the select board to do that anyway, it's not up to us to.
but I'm just thinking from the criteria for review
Yeah,
and the way it's presented to the board, that's all.
yeah, if the select board wants to address that, that would be good.
Because it seems like a huge burden and waste on the applicant to go through and
Right.
say you gotta address
Right.
each one of these items, and
Yeah.
whether it's an NA or you gotta provide a map or a statement, blah, 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 blah.
Do they pay a regular permit fee?
That's the other side of this we're struggling with.
I don't think
Write it up, Jim.
that's.
No, write it up,
The
it's,
permit fee for automated is like $160?
That would be the building permit.
That would be the building permit.
Right, but we're not talking about building permit, we're talking about amending the plan.
Yeah,
Because it has to be recorded, you know, it's gonna be, board has to sign, it has to be re-recorded. Board has to make an actual determination on
To
it.
put a roof over the patio? Is this-
No.
No, okay, but if
I'm
you've
talking
got
about
a,
if you do a subdivision.
okay, so if you've got a subdivision, and down the road, you're gonna divide the lots again, then wouldn't it go through the regular process of the planning board?
But what if they just move, two abutters move a property line? For whatever reason, they wanna move a property line. That has, technically, has to come back to the board as an amended subdivision plan, because any change you make to that plat
Okay,
has
so,
to come to the board.
so now you're gonna go, is it gonna be 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet? I mean, this is where stupidity takes over.
I'm not saying that, I just think you gotta have a bucket where you can put simple things in, is all I'm trying to say.
No, I agree, but I'm saying,
No, you say something less than a full-grown
Yes.
review of the process, yeah. Okay.
are you saying it still goes to the planning board though?
Anytime you amend a subdivision plan,
Okay.
it has to go back to the board.
You're worried about the fee?
Worried about the
Yes.
fee, and then what do we review, and how do we review it, because there's nothing in our ordinance that points to what we should be required. I mean, I kind of say, unfortunately, I'd say right now, go to the subdivision ordinance, if it doesn't apply, just put NA, and then, but ideally, you know, it's a lot of NAs
yeah.
in some cases, you know.
but if that comes before the board, it'd be like what's going down through our list. Does this pertain? Does this pertain? Does this pertain? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
that's what I'm saying. But it just seems like it could be a lot cleaner, and smaller, and simpler, so I'm trying to, common sense, I'm trying to.
Thank you.
What you're saying is to redo the whole thing, you have to pay certain upfront fees, like.
Yeah, because there's nothing that breaks out.
For about half the cost of the original application fee.
I think, personally, I think we ought to have it so that if it's minor, de minimis, a lot line change, easement addition, some small fee, if it's new lots, then
Yeah.
different fee. But now we're getting into really fine tuning the subdivision stuff, but other
Well, you
communities
wouldn't
do
have to
that,
pay.
but, you know.
You'd have to come up with a list of criteria or similar to, something like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think it could be, and I think it may be something that goes back to the ordinance review committee that should be in the ordinance for that, to spell out to the public what gets kicked into amendment. Because at some point, if you add lots to a subdivision, it's almost like a phase 2 of a subdivision, you should go through the whole review. But if it's just a simple tweak of a line because the butters disagree, or one has a shed and they want to move the line 5 feet or something stupid like that, or one wants to save a tree, or septic system needs a little bit different change of the lot line, then that should be de minimis. It should be a quick consent thing with the planning board to re-sign and move on.
If you've already paid a fee per lot on a project, if you're not creating new lots, there shouldn't be any requirement to pay lot fees.
Right, that's exactly
That's,
right.
yeah, so, and that's how we've treated it in the past, is that, you know, you don't have to, when you come back to do something de minimis, you don't have to repay all the various lot fees.
There is a process that has to go through,
Well,
be resigned.
I'm just saying, that's what we do.
But it should
And
be
if you
something,
came and
I'm just
did-
saying it shouldn't be the full value. We should come up with something small that, you know, we can cover the cost, but keep it so somebody doesn't, I mean, to make somebody come in and write $1,000 check to do something that takes us all 10 minutes to do, and then release that money back because we don't use it, is a waste of staff time, everybody's time.
You're not,
It's a selectman thing though, the fee.
if you're not creating
I
new
think
lots.
a little bit is the, what qualifies.
If you're not creating new lots or new roads.
Right.
There wouldn't be any need for a large
Exactly,
fee.
exactly.
And what we've done in the past is that he comes back and wants to add new lots. We've treated the prior lots as already having had a fee paid on them, and therefore he only pays the fees on the new lots he's creating.
But if he doesn't create new lots and just,
There's no need to pay those fees.
Yeah.
He's relieved from those fees.
but there's some cost incurred, I'm saying, with the process, but it
Yeah.
should be very minor is what I'm getting at.
So what would that entail for you to come up with some sort of a general list of those items? Is that something that you?
We
that you-
can, but again, I mean, what's the process? Does it go through the ordinance review committee? Should it go through the board?
Yeah.
We'll draft something up.
Probably
and just
turn it into an
the
ordinance,
review.
Yeah.
It's an amendment to the subdivision ordinance. as well.
You're more familiar with that list of items
Yeah,
than,
I would probably list a bunch that call them de minimis, which are
Yeah.
just that, you know,
Yeah.
small.
and then we could just follow it up.
Housekeeping
by-
items
or
that-
si- Or similar to.
Right.
Yeah, and there you go, yeah. All right, yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I mean, the way it works right now, we can go through the whole gauntlet. That's all we've got.
Yeah, so in the meantime, we would suggest that the select board come up with some sort of a minimal escrow fee to cover that, maybe.
So what we're saying at present, though, would be that a person came in and wanted to do a minor thing, that we would simply charge them the fee for, you know, bringing the process before the board, and then there wouldn't be lot fees because he isn't creating new lots, and therefore it'd be that fee and perhaps a lesser fee for escrow because he's not really doing anything.
Right.
Exactly.
So there wouldn't be any fee needed if the planner isn't involved in it, basically.
Yeah, but I don't know how
There's
that,
gotta be your basic fee.
there's gotta be some
Well,
fee, because I gotta look at it to assess where it goes.
Okay.
Or somebody does,
Yeah.
I don't know. what's
Did you hear
needed.
Christina's suggestion?
$160 or whatever it was?
No,
No.
Half of,
I just said
Oh,
half
half.
the cost of the original
Yeah.
permit app, you know,
Yeah.
site plan, or, I'm sorry.
but that may be, that's nothing, but that may be excessive depending on the size of the original.
It might be,
project.
yeah.
I think we just need a small fee, $250 or something like that, or something small.
That makes sense.
Then the question would be, you know, because then when it comes to you, if it's de minimis, you wouldn't have a public hearing, but if it was large enough, then we get into that whole re-review. It's basically a renew application almost, if it's additional lots.
So is that something we develop the ordinance and then we develop the fee after we, okay,
Chicken.
yeah, that's right. Okay,
So you're saying to develop the amendment to the ordinance and then try to figure out the fee?
yeah.
I think we just come up with a section of the ordinance that just says amendments to subdivision.
David, do you need an amendment, a motion for an amendment at section 5 to change those things?
We will, when we start the meeting.
Yeah, we will restart the meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We start, yes, we will.
yeah. At 6
Thanks,
o'clock.
David.
I'm here to guide you. Okay. Close the workshop. We all done? Everybody?
You got a 3-minute break.
3-minute break, yeah.
Anybody around the parking lot 3 times?
Okay. Let's start with the meeting, I guess. First on tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing for map 010, lot 022D. Application submitted by Sean Behen. regarding a proposed private boat launch on Southeast Pond. The purpose of the public hearing is to give the potentially affected people an opportunity to offer oral testimony in support or in opposition to the application. The resultant opinions and evidence submitted create part of the record upon which the planning board must base their decision. This is an open gathering of the planning board and citizens, in which citizens are permitted to offer comments, but the board is not obligated to act on them or even respond. So you must give courteous attention to other speakers. Please be advised that all individuals wishing to speak must raise their hand and be recognized by the chair. All persons speaking are asked to stand and state your name and your address. We will now open the public hearing.
David, could you speak up just a little bit louder? They can't hear you up back.
Sure. Not loud enough. Okay.
Is Mr. Behen or his representative here? A representative?
Wow.
We can still hold the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Still in public hearing. At this point, would anybody like to speak? Andrew?
Andrew Plummer, Convene Road. I live up across the street from Southeast Pond. Fished it for many, many years. It's getting harder and harder to get to that pond because of private access, so on and so forth. I have a friend who's got a gate who allows me to go down in there and fish whenever I want. My concern is I'm gonna roll down in there someday and there's gonna be 10 bass boats out on that pond, having their own little bass tournament for Mr. Behan's location or boat launch. I don't have a problem with people fishing, I just don't think that everybody else that lives on the pond would appreciate it. I mean, me and my kayak isn't gonna bother anybody, I normally don't even go down where the houses are anyway. But if people show up in droves and bass boats, it's gonna change the atmosphere on the pond. That's my only concern.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak? How about, does the board have anything to say?
Well, I looked it up in the little Gazette thing, the pond is 172 acres and not particularly deep, so it is a small pond.
Are you making a public comment or are you discussing the application?
I'm simply making comments about the size of the pond.
Anybody else have any comment that they want to make as a public member? Seeing
That was
none?
my
Can we give
concern.
him 5 minutes? I'm just saying. It's snowing.
That's reasonable.
What's that?
I said, that's reasonable for, wait another 5 minutes and see if he shows up.
Okay.
That was my concern was, you know, can we possibly limit, and I'm not going to limit the application, but could there be a limit to the number of boats that could be on the pond at any one time? Because my concern was, well, remember I asked about the size of the motors, because I don't know what
It's a
it's about.
statement, but right now we're just making
Yeah.
statements, the board
Yeah.
should not get into discussion.
Yeah, this is just public comment. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we table this Behan public hearing till
till Mr. Deanna gets here.
6:11, actually, and then resume at that point.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
I want to move on to,
So we can move on to, do we want to move, if we move on, we got to move on to the regular meeting, so we want to
can we do that?
Just open it.
So we can just wait for a few minutes, maybe?
Yeah, we can wait a few minutes.
I mean, without starting a meeting and stuff.
Right, yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, so we'll wait till.
Life used to be simple.
Christine, did he say whether he was?
I thought he was going to, I talked to him last week, and it sounded like he was going to be here.
Let's go to the concession.
Whether there's cause delays or no.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not here.
Yeah, I am too.
Say it has 4 years.
Many people like the new state flag.
It's not new.
There is.
Didn't get adopted.
There he is.
Oh, there's the man of the hour.
You're up.
Great call by somebody.
We've been taking, just to back you up, we had some public comment, so.
All right,
Yes.
have to make a motion to,
Make a motion, we resume the public hearing.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I'll say it again so you can hear it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
My concern with your project down on Southeast is that I'm gonna come floating around the corner someday in my kayak and see 10 bass boats having a bass tournament down there. I understand the water's free, everybody's allowed to use it, but I'm concerned that it's gonna affect the people that actually live on the pond. Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Behen? Any comments?
Well, he has a presentation. right?
Yeah.
I just have a question, and I probably should know this, but how many access points are there on the pond? Is it all private? It's all private, so there's no, so yours would be private as well?
Yes, I will be in charge of it. It's not a public domain, but it's not like, not impersonal, right?
So you would allow other people to use it if they asked you?
It's like, some people on the road have asked to come down and have access to the water, right, for kayak or whatever.
Okay.
You know, not for us, but I went through a 21-month process with the state around this, and that was, if I had a public ramp, they would have provided my permit easier, sooner, right? But I don't want a public one, because you have to come across two properties. I don't want to overdo my egress right across that. I'm a bass tournament angler in charge of the youth program for a couple statewide, national-wide programs. I would like to have them have an opportunity to learn how to use a boat, to Andrew's point. It's not going to be like you see on TV, people going forwards and backwards, all speeds and so forth. It's not big enough, and it would be problematic for other folks on the pond. But that's not my objective at any point. But it's private to me, and it's, yeah.
So the private being that you would regulate, that's why you
I
kept it
would
private?
keep, yeah, as best as I could.
Yeah.
One, I don't want to ruin the resource. It's not, I could have bought land on other lakes that are bigger and so forth that have that ability. That's not my premise.
Yes, Jim?
I just want to be clear to the public and to the board, tonight we are reviewing the boat ramp only,
Yes,
and no other associated uses.
yes,
Okay, just so we're all clear. So I know there's discussion about schools and
right,
camps.
Right.
We're not reviewing that, we're only reviewing the boat ramp.
right. Would you like to make your presentation, John?
So, well, I've been, this is my third time with you folks. I've been asked the last time we were here to redo one of the drawings for you folks to kind of indicate where items are going to be located and how the boat will be structured, right? So, sorry. Here,
For public to see.
oh, sorry. Hello? How are you? Hello. I own 22 acres at the end of this road. As I mentioned earlier, there's two properties I cross to get there. My boat ramp would be located right here. This is the main road. The camp road's been there for 100 odd years or so forth, which is the main road down. It's a horseshoe. Right, and so this would be the location on my property. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. The second question, or one of the primary questions you folks had when I was here last, was a better rendition of what that boat ramp looks like. So I was able to have a gentleman who had actually surveyed the 100 acres that were there into the different lots and so forth, in contact with Jim 1-3 times about that, right? And so I don't know if you're presented with that new photo.
Yes.
It's in our package.
Yeah, it's in our packet.
One of the problems here is I wanted to move the ramp over to this side of my property because it's just easier to get in and out of the water. Outside this here is a flat and it's probably about 3.5 feet. It goes deep. It goes out 40-odd feet and it runs 600 feet down the coastline. It was not serve the purpose to place a boat into the water, and therefore I had to find someplace that was a little bit deeper. Again, the mention with the DEP, we had conversations about, you know, do I need to dredge to make it more suitable and all these other questions, and no was the answer to that. Right, we want to keep, again, resource as pristine as we can. Okay. And so, this one piece is, it's a little bit long, sloped appropriately for that, as other boat ramps are in Maine. So the different pieces, the electrical, the trihydrant, electrical main pieces right here, for this area.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions of Mr. Behen? If not, we will close the public hearing. And we'll move on to our regular meeting.
Appreciate all you've done, Sean.
Welcome to the April 8th, 2025 Planning Board meeting of the town of Sebago. I would like to call this planning board meeting to order. Time is 6:14. We'll take a roll call of the members here in attendance. Tina Vaness. Here. Paul White.
Present.
David Welch here. Robert LaLiberty.
Here.
David McCarthy.
Here.
We will acknowledge the town staff. Christina Robinson, CEO, Jim Seymour, Town Planner, Gary Jones, Executive Secretary. This is a public proceeding, not a public hearing, and unless the planning board specifically votes to go into executive session, anyone here has the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits or materials that are presented. Please notify the chairman if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda, which is posted tonight by the sign-up sheet. Do we have any correspondence?
I do.
Okay.
Garrett, I think you have an affidavit that I signed that I have reviewed the minutes and the videos of the past meetings, and I am currently up to date.
Okay.
That's been signed and notarized. I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. Any other correspondence? We'll move to reviewing the minutes. March 11th, 2025, meeting minutes. Any changes? Everybody reviewed them?
Yes.
Could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll second it.
And a second, any discussion?
I have a question.
No?
Yep.
Jim's
Is
got a
that
question.
both minutes or just one?
This is, we're doing them one at a time.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it's March 11th first.
Yep.
Yeah, March 11th.
All in favor? Unanimous?
No, I abstain.
Oh, you, okay. Sorry. Okay, now we'll move on to the March 25th Planning Board Ordinance Review Committee Joint Workshop Minutes. Any changes? Could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 25th, 2025.
Second it?
Second? All in favor? One abstained?
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll open to public questions not related to an application. Does anybody have any questions not related to an application? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. I would like to move the agenda item for the ordinances from other business to old business. I would like to, I guess we won't do, we're not going to do the bylaws, we're not going to move those up, just the ordinance review changes. So would somebody like to make a motion to move the ordinance review changes from other business to old business?
I'd like to make a motion to have an agenda adjustment to move the discussion of the ordinances from other business up to old business.
A second?
I'll second it.
Seconded? Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, so we would we'll have a discussion about the ordinances as proposed. Everybody has reviewed those, and I'm assuming that they're all right. We've made the changes, but we're going to vote on those right now. So somebody needs to make a motion to.
We're gonna do them all at once or one at a time?
What's that?
We're gonna do them all at once or one at a time?
Well, let's do the one that we actually made the changes to, because the other four we haven't made any changes to. So it's just the Section 7 administration one that the changes have been made to. Does somebody have who has a copy of the change? Because all I seem to have is.
Pink. It's pink before. So the changes we made to the, this is the one regarding Section 7 site plan review.
Yes.
The changes we made had to do with, one, spelling out, let's see here. We put calendar days instead of just days in several different places, in two different places actually, and we modified one sentence down by at the completeness of application meeting. The planning board shall provide the public an opportunity to comment, and we eliminated on whether or not the application is complete. We just stopped the sentence at comment. That's on the first page. On the second page is where you'll see where we specified under the public hearing, Section 5. We changed where we had dates in there for 14 days. We said 14 calendar days. And down below where we had 7 days, we changed that to 14 calendar days to be consistent with the other periods.
I just saw something, and I don't know if it's above the town website, at least 14 calendar days, Bob.
Yeah.
Go up 1, 2, 3 lines. And this is putting things in the newspaper, at least 7 calendar days. Should that be 14 like all the others?
No.
I just
No,
saw that.
no. No, that's only.
That's okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's it. We had, there was one area that the attorney had put a comment on, that's way down at the bottom of the page under general information, number 3. And we decided not to go with that anyway.
Okay.
So we made no change as a result of that. And also, on the page, must be page 4. On the 3rd page, there was one comment by the attorney to increase the feet. So the sentence is, for major developments and subdivisions with 5 or more lots in all districts, they had suggested changing this to 1,000. We're going to stick with what we had before, which was 500 feet, including abutters, owners, and across streets, roads, and rights of way. That's about notices and the likes.
Okay.
So we've stuck with the 500 feet instead of 1,000, which is originally what it was anyway.
Yeah,
And that's it.
that's it.
So all those changes have been made. They're in the documents.
So
I think we're good to go.
So would somebody like to make a motion to accept the changes made?
You have a question over there.
Sure. Yep.
Me again.
Yeah.
On that first part, Bob, under 3, the very first section, you
Yeah.
said calendar days, but the copy I have says it was crossed out 10, just says 14 days. It doesn't-
Yes.
Doesn't say, my version doesn't say calendar, does the updated one say calendar?
Oh, it doesn't say
It
calendar.
doesn't say calendar, it says 14 days prior to the meeting.
Yeah, should that say calendar there as well?
It could. Hasn't to make the change at this point, but for that.
And that whole section just has the days, it doesn't say calendar in
Yeah.
that section,
Yeah.
so that's all.
Yeah.
Wasn't that your recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah, days, not calendar days, days, right?
Yes. Oh, I said calendar, last meeting I said calendar when we discussed it.
How
Didn't we have a
Because-
discussion when it was 10 calendar days, but it came out to be 14 days?
14
because of-
days, yeah, 14 calendar days, but I recommended calendar days because if you just say days, is that work days, and then we
Right,
get
that's- we had
holidays.
this whole
That's why, yeah.
discussion.
So that's why we decided to go calendar days because it's very specific. I would count that.
So it was just days before.
Yeah, it was just days.
Yeah, so, okay.
So what do we want to do about that?
I'd just say make a friendly amendment to what you recommended on, or whatever you,
Okay, make a friendly amendment.
I just
if
want to
that's
make
what,
sure.
but you have to make a motion on that.
Would somebody like to make a motion to make a friendly amendment to adding calendar days?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, on each one of those days, that we insert calendar days.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? And calendar days.
It's in there a bunch of times too, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, okay.
It's like 5 times
Yeah,
in that
just
one
a-
piece.
Friendly amendment. Okay, so now somebody has to make a motion to accept this ordinance change as proposed.
Well, Tina made a motion, correct?
I made a, yes, to, an amendment to add in calendar
Right.
days.
Yes.
But we need to make a motion to accept the changes on this ordinance proposal.
Okay, but that's separate from what I just did.
Yes, yeah, we just voted on
So
your,
go-
we just voted on your.
So basically now your motion is, can I simplify this? Your motion to accept with the friendly changes.
Yeah, to accept the changes, yeah.
To accept with the changes, Tina.
Okay, to accept with the changes.
Yes.
To make an amendment,
You've made an amendment to add it
In.
in. Now you're making a motion to accept the whole document with that minor amendment.
okay, I'm now making a motion to accept this ordinance with the amendment,
Changes.
changes. Amen.
Second, I'll second that. Any discussion?
Don't anybody dare ask a question.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous? All right.
That's for the ordinance. It's for changes in the planning board completeness act.
Yeah, that's changes to the section 7 administration ordinance that we,
All right.
okay, now,
I missed that. Yeah. We just missed it. I didn't see that time. There's one there and one there, right?
Let's do this one, it's easy.
There's two of those.
Okay, so now we need to make a motion to hold a public hearing on April 29th, 2025 at 6 PM to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed ordinances.
You're gonna do the other,
Are we gonna do the other ordinance?
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
I know you wanna go home, David, but you
Sorry
can't go
about
that fast.
that. Yeah, no, I thought okay, so we had already discussed the other ordinances at our workshop, and everybody seemed to be fine with it, except for, what was it, under section 7 site plan review, there was a number designation that needed to be changed, which
Which we
Bob
did.
straightened that out.
That was under financial guarantees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bob straightened that out.
Yeah, so that's all taken care of.
Yeah.
And were there any other changes to any of the other ordinances that we needed to do, or were they all fine?
No, well, the only request we had was to, if there's something that's unclear when it goes for a warrant, that we have an explanation page with it.
Okay.
And we actually have some backup material that's simply been attached to the financial guarantee one.
Okay.
So people can position it and see what it relates to.
Yep,
That's all, it's just there.
okay. So everybody's fine with the rest of the ordinances?
I'm cool. Yeah.
Okay, so now we need to make a motion. So we can make a motion to hold a public hearing on April 29th, 2025 at 6 PM to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed ordinances. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Somebody else took a turn.
I will make that motion.
Okay,
then.
go do it.
I would like to make a motion to hold a public hearing on April 29th, 2025 at 6 PM to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed ordinances.
Good. I will second that motion.
Motion second, any discussion?
What day of the week is that?
That is, I believe that's on a Tuesday. I believe that's another Tuesday.
what's the date? I'm sorry, I missed the date.
April 29th,
29th.
At what time?
6 PM.
And indeed, that is a Tuesday.
Okay.
Do we vote?
Did we vote? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, continuing with old business.
Wait, did you guys usually go accept the other,
Ordinance.
Yes.
That
Yes.
included that.
I think they
Oh,
implied,
that included
I think
that.
they implied that would be scheduling of the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's with the public hearing order? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so continuing with old business, we have Sean Behen boat launch, map 010, lot 022-D. Application submitted by Sean Behen regarding a proposed private boat launch on Southeast Pond. Escrow has been paid, notice has been sent out, and proof has been provided. Would someone like to make a motion to take this application off the table to continue discussion?
Make a motion, we continue our discussion on Mr. Behan's property.
Second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I don't know if it's necessary, but I'll support it.
All in
I
favor?
think we just take it up.
Okay. All right, Mr. Behen, you're up.
Good evening. Nice to see you again.
It's been so long.
Sean Behen, owner of map 10, lot 22-D. It's my third time in front of you folks. You asked for particular information around my project, along with the information I provided to you. Chart of where on my property the boat launch is proposed to be located. You asked last time if I could prepare a new illustration of the boat ramp and the items that are going to be around it and so forth with contours. I sent The gentleman sent that last Tuesday to the CEO, and I believe it's in your packet this evening.
Yes.
Here is a larger version, sometimes it's easier. So, as you can see, lines are for the contour, clearly illustrating where the dry hydrant is going to go. We talked about going with the fire folks about where exactly to put the head of that in terms of the boat ramp itself, in terms of them providing water to the pumper truck and so forth like that. And that's located here on the left side. Notes, it clarified where and how the electrical will be run according to the questions the planner had for me and so forth. And the high water mark is clearly defined. There's several notes along with this drawing for you folks.
Did the fire hydrant go up higher, Sean? Did it go farther up there?
Yes, ma'am. So if you recall from last meeting, the gentleman spoke about, I'm sorry.
Go straight.
Straight. Spoke about, because of the length, if it goes higher, it's hard to create the Venturi water effect in terms of, and the planner had a question around, how do I get a truck down, and so, and it was explained by the fire chief.
We just left that determination with the fire chief.
I didn't know the way it looked on the map, it looked like it went up higher.
It may have a little bit.
It may look that way a little bit now.
Okay, that's why I asked.
But the fire folks mentioned 20 odd feet from the high water mark.
He knows his business.
I hope so.
We left discretion with him to
Yes.
cite that, when he did the construction.
It'll be within that zone once the project gets on, we verify the height and all that, and just can't go any further than 25-foot elevation. Because then the truck's gonna work way too hard.
Yes, sir.
Why would you have a fire hydrant for a boat ramp?
It's not necessary for the boat ramp, but during construction to build a boat ramp, in conversation last August with the CEO and the fire chief, I made the recommendation, because there is not enough water suppression, fire hydrants and so forth along Hogfat Hill Road in my area, I offered to put that in, because I would like that personally for myself.
What kind of considerations have been taken for the different types of storms, 25, 50, 100-year storms? On this, you have a 2-to-1 grade on the northerly side of this boat ramp, 16% slope. Boat ramps are 16% slope with a 2-to-1 grade on the embankment running into the boat ramp, and you only have riprap on one side. I'm a little concerned that on a big storm event, until the vegetation's taken hold, that there's possibility that could wash and come right across the boat ramp and
Yes, sir.
wash down into the pond.
Yes, sir. So we'll use, sorry, I'm not a technical person, but we'll use cover.
Riprap, you're gonna put, geotextile mat on the.
Geotextile, the state suggested that we do not use riprap, not to arm those slopes, but to put them in with some sort of vegetation and so forth. So we will cover them with geotextile and plant accordingly as well to prevent that from going.
Within their application, which is the original application, they had noticed they were going to use what's called fibrous matting along that slope, which would be like a jute mat. or
Like an
something like that.
Excelsior or something like that.
And the idea would be, the reason that they got the riprap, this ramp is not crowned, it's super elevated. So the idea is the water from the ramp itself would go into that riprap. The reason they don't want riprap up the side slopes, that if you get a heavy rain, that promotes warming, which depletes the oxygen in the ponds, so it heats the water up, so that's why they usually want vegetation on those, because it cools the water rather than heat it up.
I was just thinking of a high volume of water coming down off the embankment, and there's no sort
Yeah.
of ditching to collect the water, and the water
We-
running across the ramp.
I had that
down the-
discussion with Mr. Lewis, and, basically, the only thing that's falling on it for water is, everything on the bank is going towards, from the non-cut area is going to the pond. In the cut area, it is coming down to the ramp, but in size, this is relatively small. The slope, yes, it's 2 to 1, but it's only 6 feet of height, so.
Oh, that's all that,
Yeah, that's all that slope is, because these are 2-foot contours, so I mean, it's 2 to 8 feet in height.
okay.
So it's not a large
All right,
embankment. so-
okay.
But again, we do want to protect it, because drilling and things like that could happen, but, they'll have to, during the construction, they'll have to put some silt fence down along that until it establishes, that's all.
Okay.
That's what they had in their plan.
I was gonna say, it's all-
This is, just to address your questions and concerns from last meeting.
Does anybody else have any other questions of Mr. Dean?
I'm so impressed with the drainage sandwiches.
They got rid of those, actually. And part of that was the discussion was, to make those effectively work, would have required a larger cut through that bank. And again, we reviewed that, and we felt it was such a minor area that it was more damage.
You and Sonny lose them.
Well, what would happen was that water would just basically come back on itself. To make them work effectively, we'd have to widen that swath cut to get it parallel to the shore.
Yeah.
So to do that, we're eliminating existing vegetation, and that's a bigger loss than just dealing with it. So that's why we compromised and did the swath of riprap there at the boat ramp edge itself to address the runoff. So, and then they have a little bit wider area down near the water line, so when that water comes down the riprap, it can spread out a little bit.
That's why I like the sandwiches.
They weren't practical for cutting.
Yeah, no,
The main concern really is we want to slow down the velocity of the water, and we want the water to be relatively cold and back into
back
the
in
source.
yours.
Which is what Jim mentioned earlier about heating up on the riprap and things. That's what.
So, can I ask Christina a question, code question, if you don't mind? So you have here kind of a synopsis of this project, and you discuss in here or tell us about Mr. Behan's intent to make this available to youth programs, environmental groups, and anglers associations. To me, it may be and it is a private boat ramp, but it seems to me that it's going far beyond the use of a private boat ramp. And I commend you what you're doing, but I'm not sure to somebody who spoke at the public meeting, if we want bass tournaments, or if that was even presented to the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, that these types of activities would be going on when you ask for your permit from them. And also, I asked a question about the fire hydrant, because I know that according to this documentation, you were talking about development in there, and that the fire chief requested a hydrant. Is that fairly accurate?
Well, we have no public access to that water. We have no access to the water at all. There's no way for us to gain any source of equipment.
I understand. I'm not doubting the validity of having a hydrant there and how great it will be for the town.
Yeah.
But I just wanted out in the open that there's a proposed development here that we're not seeing at this point. And there's also the possibility of a camp. And, I'm not even sure where I'm going with this, other than I find that this is kind of backdooring all of our ordinances and, you know, what we're trying to accomplish here in the town. And, you know, first comes a boat ramp, then will come your subdivision. And I question why you didn't bring this all to us at once, to the
Yeah.
planning board.
Sure. Not to say to the planning board, but I had the conversation, as I mentioned, back in August with these folks. And last meeting when you weren't here, I was explaining here to Mr. Welch that I'm terminally ill, and it was a part of our estate plan, my estate plan for my family, to, you know, for that. That's the reason for that. One, as we spoke when you were here, or I was here back in January, the camp is primarily in response to the passing of my son.
Yes.
Right, and providing young kids an opportunity to learn how to angle, learn how to respect the outdoors, learn how to be good stewards of the main foundation. Those other items, as we spoke, again, you know, those were pushed for two reasons. One, it was just my own internal family planning, one, and no other reason for that. I provided a list to the planner and to the CEO of the individuals who would take ownership of any lot I would have already. So I have always been forthright with this program and this possibility, as well as my attorney. We were saying, you know, this part is for step one, right? And we've come back to you many times in the future. And we've said that in January, and said that in March, and in August with the code enforcement person. So I have not kept it behind any closed doors.
Well, it's not behind closed doors because we have it here, but again, my question is, well, my point is, I believe that would change a lot with your application to the Army Corps and the Maine Fisheries and Wildlife.
Okay, sorry, I didn't address that question yet. The folks from DEP, IFW have been on my property. As I mentioned earlier in the public meeting, the DEP provided my permit 21 months after my application was submitted. They were on my property several times. The old CEO was on my property several times with DEP and IFW looking at my property, understanding the same set of events as outlined by yourself earlier. So they have plenty of opportunity, and they have, because not only the several times they're on that property, we have 4 or 5 video conference calls with those folks, you know, talking about all these different pieces of the puzzle.
Did you tell them you were planning on having, never mind, I'm done, thank you, I appreciate it.
I think, David, if you, right now we're concentrating on the boat ramp, and if it comes down to subdividing that property, then you would have to come, the family would have to come back before the planning board. Because that's one possible land.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, I understand that, but there was a plan in place that was presented to the code enforcement officer, and I believe, Jim, you were there? The development of this with, again, a camp of some sort.
Yeah, it was
kids.
just a sketch at that point, yes.
Good.
It was multi-phased. It
Okay.
wasn't-
Yeah, that was the thing, there was
All right.
nothing,
No,
There's no fault line.
How many acres do you own up there?
22.
yeah.
20.
I have an option for another 15 or more.
Is it a good deal, you gonna buy it? I'm thinking about
Only if I live to see for it.
There, you will.
Well, it does go to David's point that if you were to develop that and give each person a right to the
To the boat ramp,
boat ramp, that's the point to be made.
but it's his family,
No. I was just saying.
yeah.
I think he's probably thinking more in the distant future, though, is the property being sold off, you know.
Oh, here we go again, 100 years
Well,
down the road.
no, I know. And I didn't know if there was some sort of a conditional approval could be made, but, yes, Jim?
I was gonna make, if the board has that concern, the board can, you know, obviously put conditions on the approval. If the board wants, I don't know, to your point, how we have this kind of internally too, how we address the camp situation, since the camp is not an approved use, it exists, would be that maybe currently there's a deed restriction in place for the boat ramp to be Mr. Behen and any immediate family, that any future lots created would require an amendment back to the planning board or something of that nature, and the same would be true for the camp.
Yeah. Because once,
That's what I'm saying, anytime there's a change, they're gonna have to come back before the board.
well, once, if the camp were allowed to use it, wouldn't it become a commercial use at that point?
You would change the use, yes, but again, I think that would be part of the camp application. If they plan on using that, then there would have to be an amendment to that.
Do you have something written down there?
I do not.
You do not?
I was gonna, we had that same, you posed that same question back in January, and my attorney answered that. That would be,
I actually thought we
Some
had
sort of
written that as a
restriction.
condition already.
No, because we never got to that point.
Okay.
But when when you're
discussed
talking
it.
about camp, you're not talking like some of these private camps where you've got 300 or 400 kids
Well,
overnight for
that's the
6 weeks.
detail we don't know.
no, I'll tell you right now.
Just from what he's
no.
saying.
It's
that's
not
what it's
overnight,
gonna be.
and it's only about a 4 to 5 hour day activity.
Yeah.
No, thank you, but no. I run those camps, I've been to those camps, I don't want those camps.
Too much of a headache.
Yeah, not to say I'm too old either, but no, it's just again to, we have, in part of, say, Bass Nation or the Bass Federation, we have youth camps in our clubs. And part of our charge is to help them understand how to use the boat. Some of us are not young, some of us may have medical conditions. We want to ensure that the youth, understand this. The state has implied a driver's license to be on a boat now. And also, in case of a medical emergency, we want to make sure that everyone is safe, not just.
So how does the board want to move forward with this application?
Well, first I'd ask a simple question. We're judging this under shoreland zoning, correct? Not under site plan review. So.
It falls under both, essentially.
So do we feel we should review it, go through the checklist of both? At some point we go through a checklist either for site plan review or other things. I don't know if we have one for shoreline zoning, but that would be the basic approach. Go through the list and see how.
Yeah, there's a very limited section here for boat ramps on the shoreline.
Would we still use the same voting matrix?
I would recommend you do.
Did you have copies of those, Garrett, the voting matrix?
I have a copy of it here.
You wanna do that tonight?
That's what I'm asking, how does the board want to?
Well, we progressed to this point and had the public hearing. The next step would be to review it according to those criteria.
The application's complete.
Oh, we voted on the application, completeness of the application?
We did.
We did?
So it's done.
Why do we do
And then that would be the next step.
We did
I have
the
one.
application, I believe, the last meeting, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So I read this correspondence, and it's being corresponded with the Bridgeton News on the 27th. Did you actually see that? I did not see that advertisement in the
I did,
paper.
yes, sir.
So it did make it?
Yeah, I had
Anybody see it?
conversations, sorry.
The public hearing was mentioned in the paper, I got that.
It was, okay. All right. Well, usually, again, this is changing, but for the past few months, we've had the applicant do all this stuff, and that wasn't in our packet, a copy of the advertisement. So I just,
No, not the advertisement, sorry.
no, but no, we're good if it went in.
So, sorry, I sent a copy of the advertisement to the CEO, and I think it's in your,
Yes, it is.
it's in your packet.
Well, I
Not in
have,
the
I
paper.
have, yes, I have a typed letter,
Yeah,
but,
but it was in the paper, I wrote.
okay, he said he saw it, so good. Thank you. Make sure we're all legal.
So do we want to move forward with approving this application?
Yeah.
No reason why we shouldn't.
Yes?
Yeah.
So do you have 5 copies of that matrix? We want one.
So do you get to make a motion?
We get copies of the
Approving the application?
No, I don't think we can go for motion, we go
Yep.
through the list and make votes on it, I guess.
All right.
We decided we're gonna judge it against the site plan review. Is there
It covers-
anything different between the site plan review and the shoreline zoning? Should we think about going through a checklist of that?
David, I got one copy. Everybody need a copy?
Yes.
Yeah. Can Gary go on the dock there?
Because there's parts of the shoreline zoning that speaks specifically to piers, docks. There's other structures extending, but I'm assuming that's the one we're talking about. 15.
So if you go to shoreline zoning, under 9, page 40,
Page 40?
Page 40.
under procedures for administering permits, which is D.
I don't have my big book.
There's
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 8 items there that typically the board corresponds to for shoreline zoning permits.
Yep.
Can you share it?
Where is that in the old?
Page 40, it's under section, I'll give you the exact section. Section 16, administration, D, procedure for administering permits. And within that, there's 8 criteria for shoreline, the planning board shall find positive findings.
No.
Okay.
Can you share it?
Oh, what?
I don't have my big book, I don't bring it, it's too heavy.
Yeah, so we just use that.
Yep. That's fine. Okay.
Well, do we feel that there are other aspects of the site plan review that we also should address?
Yeah. Do we want to put in a condition concerning the boat? And that would be something like immediate family only, or immediate family only and close friends, or something like that.
I find that fruitless, to be honest. You know, I don't know how you're going to enforce it. You know, if you do not have guests.
Yeah, I think the only thing, to your point, would be that it'd be a deed restriction for now. And that if there's any further division of property down there, that the board re-review the boat ramp use. So in other words, if they sell it to somebody outside the family, we lose control of who could be utilizing that.
Okay.
That's all. And that's up to the board to make that.
So he doesn't have, in other words, he can't subdivide his property and automatically
Correct.
grant rights to use the.
Unless it's immediate family, so if he
Well,
sells
mine
it,
gets him.
if he deeds it to family, they have the implied right, but if they, for sale, then the board may have a right to look at that use, or they could restrict it to.
I'd rather put it in the form of subdivision of lots, which gets away from proving relationships and just says if, you know, at the present time it's being approved as one lot with a ramp. And this, we're putting a condition that should it be subdivided, the can't automatically grant rights to use the thing, he has to come and seek a.
The rights to the boat launch go with the lot that it's located on.
Yeah, in other words, if you want to extend it to new lots, you have to come back and get approval.
Right.
He doesn't automatically have the right to do that. Let's stay away from the issue of who's related to who, because that can get work.
I think that falls into the category you were hoping for private use.
Yep. So does somebody want to make that condition of approval?
Infringes upon my right to.
No.
So
wanna make a condition?
what's to stop him from inviting 10 friends over,
No.
put your boat in, what are we accomplishing with this?
Well, actual type rights to use it according to
The only thing
to whether
you're,
you own a lot or not.
the only thing you're avoiding is that regardless, if you limit it to the subdivision and just the lot, he's the only one that controls that use of that ramp. If you let somebody subdivide and use it, now you've got two people that can
And if you have
share,
five
decide who
subdivisions,
uses
then you've
that
got,
ramp.
yeah.
So you got a sole
a
person
limited
now in
number of
control
people.
of who uses the ramp
Sure.
versus multiple people having
Right.
extensions of who
Right.
uses the ramp. That's
Yeah,
all.
you get up to 5 lots, it becomes a public boat launch at that point, pretty
Yeah, and
much.
again, Dave, I don't know how you put a limitation on the number of boats, because I don't know who monitors and who will be out there enforcing it.
Well, again, I just thought that information should be out there.
Yeah.
Do you intend to maintain a gate on the road into your property?
Say it one time.
Do you intend to maintain a gate?
There is a gate, presently.
And
Yes,
your
sir.
normal practice is to keep it locked,
That's how I protect my
and
property.
not allow anyone to go down there.
Early in this journey, there were, I'd show up, there'd be people, not on my property, but various ones, and then I'd leave and come back, and there'd be a different group of people. So put a fence in front of that.
And to the extension of that question, does the fire chief have access to a lock to that gate?
He can,
I think,
we haven't gone that far, so.
I think that's important if we're gonna have the.
Yeah, we've done that
hydrant,
before.
He's gotta have the.
That's not a problem, I'm just saying, we haven't got that far down the road, to say how he gets in and out.
Usually it's
Yeah.
not.
But yeah,
As part of our condition for the tower over here, the road is they were supposed to provide a key to their gate to the fire department. So that was made a condition of something in the past and could be made a condition of this one.
I think that makes sense.
So do you have something to that effect, Jim, that you have some sort of a motion that you could recommend?
Well, I think Paul actually made it for you, that the boat ramp the use of the boat ramp will be restricted to the one lot, the proprietor and his extended family or guests only.
We're just restricted to one lot, and that sort of implies a family and guests.
Yep.
And if it should be subdivided, you have to come back to allow any other lot to have, access rights to that.
Actually, I think that's the wisest thing, because somebody's gotta be responsible for it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a boat ramp association,
Well, if they were to do that, and say subdivide it into 5 lots or something over there, that's what they probably need, a road association, and they need a shared boat launch association
So
document.
a boat ramp,
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
If I, as I mentioned, it's more of a wealth management deal. If I break it up and I sell it to my sibling, how does that affect what you just said you were gonna do? I can't sell it to anyone else, but my family, friends, and other people can use it.
If you want to this is what I'm saying, if you want to subdivide your current property into more lots, if you wanted to extend the right to use that land, the boat land launch, you would have to come back before the board. It wouldn't be implied that you could automatically subdivide that and then extend the right to all those persons. In other words, when we took it up again at the point of the subdivision request, we'd also look at the issue of access to that boat launch.
so,
It doesn't say we wouldn't, it just says we would have the right to look it up at that time. It wouldn't be automatic to do so.
And I'm just looking for clarity.
Yeah.
So I can subdivide my land, but I can't provide them access to I can't provide them deeded access to the lodge.
Not without permission from the board.
It has to come back before the board.
so
Okay.
the boat ramp shall always be in ownership of one landowner. Shares of the boat ramp shall not be
Automatic.
sold or distributed
Transferred.
without the, transferred.
Sounds good.
I transferred my property, the main property, to my sibling.
Yeah,
The original lot, yes, that would be allowed, because it goes with the lot.
Right.
So if you were to transfer your property, your lot, to a family member, it's implied that that goes with them. If they carve it up and create, then it doesn't. They have to come back to the board.
Yeah, the boat launch needs to be tied to the lot that the boat launch is on.
Unless you come back to the board.
Okay, sure, no, okay. I'm just, again, just trying to reread it in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all. I have to come back anyways for a subdivision or for,
Right.
you know, to give a piece to my brother, my sister, or whatever. I have to come back to you guys anyways.
No, not
Not necessarily,
necessarily.
if it's family, you don't necessarily have to come
It's
back.
all-
A family subdivision,
Yep.
you will be allowed to subdivide to your family members without necessarily seeking planning board approval. But what we're saying is that to the approval of the specific boat launch, it can't be extended beyond the currently existing lot without coming back
Yeah,
for the
right.
planning. In other words, if you wanted to do a family subdivision, which you're allowed to do, and you wanted to allow the other lots to have access, you would need to come before the board and make that request, rather than just automatically do it because you have the property right in the land.
Sure.
That addresses his issue of overextending.
Right, and let me ask as well, so is that when you break your lot up once every 5 years?
You could do that, yes, and then without some specific decision by us, I don't think there's anything that prevents you from extending it to a new lot. That's why we're addressing the issue.
Right.
No, I'm just wanting to trade up my lot without going to the board.
And I'm not opposed to it, by the way. It might make sense if you have a 5-lot subdivision that all of them had some access to the thing, but,
Modifying the term.
so I'm not saying there's any upside.
All right, so do we have some sort of a motion? You want to make your motion, David?
Well, yeah, I'd make the motion that if approved, the boat launch would be pertinent to the currently existing lot, and to extend it to any other lot would require the approval of the planning board. That's as simple a way that's stated as I
You
can
have that,
think of.
Gary?
Yeah, so he made a motion to enact a condition that you've been discussing or
Yep.
approve.
That it can't be extended. The right to use the boat launch would be, you know, exclusive to the current lot, and it would need planning board approval to extend it to any subdivided lot, and that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
When you say subdivision,
Not use, but ownership, right?
ownership.
We're
Well, the
talking,
use and own, you can own, someone can own a piece of property that you have a right of way over to a pond. So in other words, the currently existing lot might own the land, and other lots would have the right to use the land,
right,
which is normally how it would work, rather than be, the landing is owned by everybody. That's not normally how it,
Yeah, boat ramp is owned by currently one owner,
subject to the rights of others to use.
subject to the rights others to use by the owner.
On my present lot.
Yes.
Well, what we're discussing though is that if you were subdivide, whether the lot that you subdivided could have deeded rights or not, and that we're saying is you need to come back before the board.
Do you want to, when you say subdivision, I had a
Or
motion,
just to divide.
or divide family, or whether, any
Any
family
division. Any
division,
division.
any division of property, thank you,
Right.
that's what I wanted to get in there. And that should be within, probably within a deed.
Yeah. And you'd have to come back, get permission when you subdivided, and then you could include it in the deed, that newly created lot had the right to use that.
So I think the initial lot needs to have a deed restriction.
Yes.
May I ask one other question?
Sean's got another question, David?
So if I subdivide we're just talking about the boat ramp here now, but I can still provide, as Paul was mentioning, water access to those other lots if they're a back lot.
What we're saying is that you can provide them permission, but they do not have any deeded right for their boat launch.
No, I get that. I'm not talking about the boat launch, I'm just talking, I have 1,500 feet of a pond.
Yeah.
Right, and I have, if I wanted to, I'd create back lots, and I'd provide them access, maybe not to the boat ramp side, but maybe to the.
Right, yes, it has nothing to do with their rights to access the water, it's to the boat ramp only.
Is it,
They would not have inherent rights to grant permission to their friends to use that.
no, yeah, absolutely not, I don't want that. Thank you.
Correct.
I'm just
So,
trying to, again,
do-
flush out what you were saying.
Do we have a motion at this point?
He's got it.
Paul made a motion.
He's got it.
So, got it, can you read that off?
So Paul made a motion to enact the condition that you guys have been discussing regarding the access to the boat ramp to your eventual approval.
Right, but you wanted the specific language.
Yeah.
Specifically, why don't you jot this down?
It'll change,
The
don't worry.
Approval of the boat ramp is exclusive to the current lot. It can, approval of the boat ramp is exclusive to the current lot. Needs planning board approval to extend it to any other lot. Subdivided lot, or divided lot, I'd say, divided lot. And that, remember, you can read that back.
And I think we wanted that reflected in a deed restriction.
Yeah.
That should be part of the
Reflected
motion.
It should be part of the motion.
It's part of the,
Okay, so I have, the approval of the ramp is exclusive to the current lot it resides on, and it needs planning board approval for that, for access to that ramp to extend the subdivided lots.
Just right, divided.
Divided lots, yeah.
Not
Just divided?
Just divided lot.
And that's going to be reflected on the deed.
Yep.
Okay. All right,
second it,
second. Any discussion?
no more changing.
Any discussion?
This is just for the condition, correct?
Just for the
Yes.
condition.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Okay,
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that conditional on approval of this is fire department access year-round for the hydrant.
I'll second
Yes.
that.
I personally don't plow in winter.
I know you don't.
It is 2 other lots.
Yeah.
You made some.
If you wish to, you're
No,
welcome.
but I know where McCarthy's going, just as long as we have it,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
right away to go through those
Absolutely.
other lots,
Yes.
gain access.
Well, I'll second,
You
I'll
have-
second.
you can use my easement to go across, but the other 2 folk, I'm
I'll
not
put
sure
it-
how you do that.
I'd say this, is years ago when they put the tower up on the hill, we supposedly required them to give a key to the fire department so you could get up there. Could you find that key if you needed to?
What tower?
The tower, the
Verizon
telecommunications
tower.
stuff.
The one on Beacon Mountain?
Yeah,
That was before I was chief, so
that's what I mean, is do we even know if there's a key up there? We're supposed to have one.
Yeah, they got tools for that. But I mean, there's no gate on this.
There is a gate.
Oh, there is a
There's a
gate?
gate on Pad, like 100 feet in, there's one with a combo lock.
Okay,
I don't have trouble giving it to you.
if we can have the combination lock, or if, the other thing is if we could, is it a multi-lock system to where we could put our own lock on there and then just undo that without tampering with the other locks?
I didn't put it out there, I don't think
Okay.
yes is the answer. It doesn't mean it can't be, I just don't have that answer.
Because I know in some ones, it's almost like a lockout tagout to where
Right, exactly.
we don't need the key to that key, but if we had our own lock on there, we could still gain access through it without cutting or dismantling, because we've run into that before where you get some of these private campers, there may be 4 people that have a key, but we don't know who all those people are, and we don't want to destroy that lock, because if we put a new one on there, we gotta figure out who gets a key.
All right,
Let them work the
Thank you.
details out.
Christina's gonna,
yes, Christina.
So you're accepting this with the understanding that there's going to be angling and, groups of boats coming in there to fish, right? And when I'm getting phone calls for a private boat launch for activity that appears to be commercial, what am I supposed to do?
That boat launch will be able to be used by him and friends and family, so I don't know how
But
you,
when he's bringing his groups in, and you guys knew this when you made the approval, so I just
We
want
haven't approved anything other than, all we said is that as extension of to other lots. We haven't said even that we're approving the whole project, because there are other issues, exactly the ones you're talking about of how it's gonna affect the adverse effect on wildlife habitat, so that needs to be addressed.
The state IFW have rules against the bass or fishing tournaments and all that other stuff to limit the size and
What would you like to see the planning board do?
I don't know what you could do. I mean, it doesn't sound like a private personal use to me. It sounds like there's other things going on.
I
And I
understand.
think that it should have been, I think more should have gone into this. Because how am I supposed to enforce this as a private boat launch?
Well, you can't use it as a commercial, for a commercial business. So if there's, I guess in theory, if there was a bass tournament and people were paying money, that makes it a commercial use, and that's not allowed.
But you know that he has these groups coming in and using it periodically. Is he gonna be notifying the office when he does this? I'm gonna be getting calls.
Can I ask a question? How many times a year do you have groups come in that you instruct?
how many will I?
How many?
I don't have any right now.
What's your vision? How many times a year?
So my vision is, so the state, as I mentioned, limits those. I wouldn't overburden that. And I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not sure how far down the road I'm gonna get there. So,
Geez, I had that piece of paper that explained it.
but I have to come back to you folks for any of that stuff first. So I have a better idea. Right now, the key to it is the boat ramp to allow outdoor education. That's permitted by the state. You know, to have like a weekend rally, I don't know, there's probably about 6 to 8.
Are people paying a fee in that?
Where were you? I'm not charging anyone for anything.
You don't charge anybody for anything?
So it's non,
No, I have 2 nonprofits,
Okay.
and that's what it's based on.
so number one, it's nonprofit.
Yes.
How big, what would you say if you're gonna have a tournament? You're gonna have a bass tournament. How many kids would you say you'd have?
So there's 2, so the state defines them in 2 ways.
Yeah,
One is a club tournament, and that's, these are adults. They're for 15 and no more.
15 boats or 15 people?
Boats.
15 boats on that little pond?
I'm not saying, I'm saying,
No, I
that's the state, no.
Okay,
So I would have a half dozen. And again, they're not racing up and down the lake.
No, I
They're not doing all that stuff. Because we want to get as many kids, so 2 kids per boat.
okay. So
So,
you'd say 6, approximately 6 is your vision. That's all I'm looking
On the
at.
water, we 6 boat,
Yeah,
2 kids,
Yeah.
12, and the driver, the owner. They're all insured, they're all,
2
yeah.
kids,
so if I were to try to apply,
no charge. Because it's a nonprofit. So therefore, would it be commercial, Christina, if it's a nonprofit?
I think it would
It
fall.
classifies as commercial, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm asking
The
you.
use is commercial, and
Okay.
that's what I explained in all the notes that I sent to you guys.
He's got it.
I have a definition that I pulled off the internet. I don't know if it's of any help or not, but it's further intended that any application for a private boat ramp facility or semi-private boat ramp facility which is approved as such, but is in fact routinely used by individuals other than usual or customary guests of a private residence who are either in the residence company or using the residence watercraft shall be considered an illegal use. So I take that to mean that if somebody else is using his watercraft, that would be an illegal use.
Would you say your boats? Or- In other words, if people are bringing in boats and it's not an illegal
It
use
came off
because it's a
the
private
lawn
boat.
inside or something.
I don't have boats for people to use.
No,
So bass tournament boat runs anywhere between $30,000 and $90,000.
Oh,
So I don't know.
Sean, what do you have, just small open boats? What are the boats?
So again, this process of the camp portion is really two phases, if you want. One is a John boat with electric motor, 12-footer, right? Again, 2 kids, 1 kid per adult type of thing. What the boat launch, and the reason for that is to understand how to use a fully equipped boat, right? And that is bigger, that I don't have the ability presently to launch any of those boats. Hence the reason for the boat ramp application. And those need 5 feet of water between the trailer and the boat. And the place where that is only where it is. We had folks out, so I don't know the point on the cockpit. So we went all the way around the point. So again, at 1,500 feet, looking at the depths.
Yeah, I remember
and
that, yeah.
And so forth like that, right? So generally it'd be 12-foot John boats with a 46, I don't know how you mentioned those, and motors, trolling motor type of thing. The only thing about the bass boats is the requirement for the boat ramp is that it needs depth. And those are not, because, again, if you can look on FW with the bass tournaments, there's 8 every Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, whatever. I'm not into that either. I'm not proposing I would do that at all. I don't, what I want is some kids, you know, like a park and rec, or maybe a youth group or a religious group come on down, and we'll have some volunteers and learn how to do that. Because again, the state has now required youth to have a boating license, driver's license to use that. So we have safety courses that I talked to the folks up at the lake. I'm not sure what the whole title is. The lake place up in Richmond, right across 17 up there on the right, about doing classes and workshops and stuff like that. So
Where do you stand with the motion?
So you made a motion to, or McCarthy made a motion for conditional fire department access to the boat ramp.
Okay, was it seconded?
It was not.
no, we haven't done that.
Excuse me?
We haven't seconded that one.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? Unanimous.
Can I ask Christina a question?
Sure.
Christine, have you had other concerns that people have mentioned to you calling in because nobody was there for the public?
There have been complaints that there has been children bussed in to the location, if that's what you're asking. About complaints on that.
That's what I'm saying. What other
Yes.
complaints have you had that,
Yes.
So I have a 1-day a year volunteer cleanup day on my property. It was last May 16th, 1. 2, I have one organized for next Wednesday. They come and they have to clean up and move stuff around and stuff like that. That's the only time anyone has been bussed on my property.
So if I look at the shoreline zoning table, I think the bass fishing would fall under public and private recreational areas involving minimal structural development. It's an actual section of the shoreline zoning, but there are no standards for that. But it is a use, and I feel that a bass camp or any kind of use similar to that for educational purposes would fall under that use. In the limited residential, that requires planning board approval.
Where are you looking at?
In the shoreline zoning table, page 16 of the shoreline zoning.
Page 16.
Because we've got, clearly, the boat ramp falls under piers, docks, wharves, bridges, and other structures under over or below normal high water line or within a wetland. If you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 from the bottom up, you'll see public and private recreation areas involving minimal structural development requires planning board approval. So, I guess my point would be, don't have an application for that use.
Yep.
We're only here for the ramp.
For the boat ramp.
Right,
Boat ramp.
okay.
If they wish to include extended recreational uses, then they would have to apply for a separate application to the board.
Okay.
I think is the only fair way this board could address that issue for the camps. We need details as to how that camp operates or that instructional, educational
Are you
process.
looking at a specific entry on the table of uses?
Yeah, I wish to.
Public and private?
Yeah, public and private recreation areas involving minimal structural development.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'd say is that they should be addressed together. In other words, if his purpose is to have such a camp, to give him a permit for a boat ramp, but not for his camp, would be sort of giving him half of what he has in mind.
But I think we discussed that with them when they initially applied. Christina, we discussed all that, and they wanted to get the ramp in first.
Present the ramp as a private boat launch, right?
I think, sorry, may I add to that, that was more around the development. We decided not to go forward with that.
Well, so I think this board is in a dilemma, then I think, because it either needs the details, what the camp includes, to include the application, or they can give you approval for the private ramp tonight, and then you have to come in with a subsequent plan for whatever educational purposes you want to do.
I'm not that far down that road.
I mean, he has to take his chances. I mean, you want to get the boat ramp taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Then he's got to take a chance of coming back to us with the idea of the camp.
And my road.
And the road. I mean, those are separate things, but that have to come before the planning board.
Yep.
So he's taking his chances by doing it one phase at a, which I.
This is
one
the
phase
most
at a time.
important part of my phase.
Right,
anyway.
is this one right here, the
Yes,
ramp. So,
No, I'm not making any decisions, but you'd have to understand that we might approve a boat landing for private limited use, but others might not be inclined to extend it to a large use. I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying that might be the inclination, and you should understand that.
As I've said all along, tonight we're here for the ramp.
The ramp alone.
Ramp only.
The ramp is associated with the use.
But you can say that, but if the use is not approved, how can it be associated? I'm saying
Are you
if you
saying the
can't,
private use or the commercial use?
the commercial use, if you want to call an
But
educational
he's got
process.
commercial activity going on, he's talking about bringing his groups in there.
And I just would say that before you can do that, he'd have to come in with a separate application for that use.
So you're calling this a letter of intent?
I'm sorry. I don't
That
know what
August, your August 6th, your January 13th memo to us for the August 6th meeting that you had with Mr. Behen?
Oh, yeah, that was the meeting that the fire chief and the planner and I attended with Mr. Behen and his
So would you
attorney.
consider that a letter of intent?
I mean, he explained his plan to us, and he stated that he would be back immediately following the approval of the ramp for the kids' camp in the subdivision, and we asked him to do it all at once, and he decided that he wanted to do it this way.
So again, I think the
So,
board
he's got a chance.
has the right to give him approval for the ramp, but that does not give him the right for the camp,
Right,
or the use of the ramp for the camp.
right.
he's taking his chances.
He's taking
And he
his
knows that
chances,
we can say no.
I know you can say no anyways.
In conditions, it doesn't mention anything about the size of the pond or conditions on the pond as far as just
I think
putting a ramp
that,
in.
but I think that would come into play when the camp.
Yeah.
When the camp comes up.
Can't. In some ponds, not, I don't know if this one has, at least technically have limits on the size of the motors, but I don't know if anybody
I
ever
think,
enforced
I think it sounds as if Mr. Behen has had conversations with IFNW and DEP about the pond and what uses are
Yes.
problematic, and I think that information would be valid when they come back for the camp.
And that's in my original application, the DEP permit from them as well.
Where are we with motions on this?
You made two motions, two conditions for the restriction to the lot and the fire access, and now you're in.
Did we have a
There's no other
deed?
motion on it.
Did we have an amended deed in that first motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was in
So
the,
he has to go to and have an amended deed?
yes.
So your conditions are basically the amended deed to restrict it to the lot in question, and then the second part was provide fire department access year-round.
Okay.
And now you're in discussion about the actual.
Potentially around where it's not plowed.
No, you'll get active, if it's not plowed, it just means you won't use it.
Yes.
You have the right to go in and.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. I just want to clarify the deal.
Okay, so someone's gonna have to make a motion to you to approve.
No, we're gonna run down through these things on page 40,
Yes.
these conditions.
Yep.
And then you can make,
Okay. So, we've run down through the list.
Remember, when you apply these, ramp only.
To the ramp only, correct, yep. Yep. Will maintain safe and healthful conditions. How's the board feel about that?
well, it's quite a hill there. I'm not sure of the width and everything of that road. Again, you can say you look at this as one issue only. There's so much else tied to it. Myself, I don't think it's a safe situation where you're having bus loads of, van loads, whatever, of children going
We're
down.
not going there, David,
I just went there.
I don't think
or
you
it doesn't
can.
pertain.
Okay.
You can have a condition that restricts that.
So it's
This is a
considered,
discussion.
I understand that. I'm just
Okay,
saying,
good.
part of the discussion, I think that should be a
Okay.
condition.
the 16-degree angle on the boat ramp is considered a safe condition.
It's been acceptable, they provided information at the last hearing saying that that was acceptable for common practice.
And I think that's probably what that refers to, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation of surface waters.
Well, we didn't vote on the first one.
Okay, we want to vote on the first one, correct? Okay, so the first one is, will maintain safe and healthful conditions. Tina,
What?
what do you think? Well, let's do it individually, yeah.
If he's putting the ramp in according to an engineer's study, he's given him it's everything that we've asked for.
Okay, so you,
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I agree the first one's go.
all right, Paul?
The only mention I'd mention is that there might be other places that appeared better spots to land, not, going off the access road, but, evidence is presented that this is the appropriate spot because of the depth of the water when you enter the thing, and therefore
Yeah.
would allow would make that a sensible spot as opposed to others that might appear better. So I would just say that and say it doesn't, aside from that, it doesn't appear to harm healthful conditions.
And I would say it meets the criteria for a boat launch, so I would say yes. What do you say,
Well, I
Bob?
think the design is safe, and those are great healthful conditions, I think so, around the perimeter, the surface, all those kinds of things seem to be reasonably well designed, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. David?
I'm not.
No?
Take a vote.
Why not, David?
Okay, we'll take a vote on it. All in favor?
Make a motion.
All in favor of safe and healthful conditions is
Is
four
it something you
to
can make a
one.
motion for?
What's
Or
that?
is this something you can make a motion for, or is this just a?
I don't think that we really do. I think we should just do this on an individual basis, but I was just getting.
I think if you make a formal approval vote, you need to make it in the form of a motion.
Yeah.
I make a motion that the number one passes.
Ask one condition, you feel it meets that criteria.
I feel the ramp, exclusively the ramp design as presented meets part one.
Okay. Yes, second.
Right, yep, second.
Any discussion? All in favor? One again. All opposed? David's opposed, okay. Okay, number 2. Will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation of surface water, to surface water. What do you think, Tina?
I think with all of the vegetation, the way he's worked it through the engineer, I think it's fine. There won't be any, even in a bad storm,
Yep,
the way it's set up. So yeah, I pass that one.
yep. Paul?
And you feel it's sufficient, the number 2?
You do?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I would agree.
And make sure,
Asking him.
because he's the engine who's reviewed it.
Did you have an engineer review it? I thought it was just
Issues?
for the department.
His professional put it together, I've coordinated with their professionals.
I think he answered the erosion. I think he answered the erosion problem.
The code enforcement officer had some concerns about revegetation at the ramp, correct?
Oh, we can handle that after, I can handle
Okay.
that with them.
All right.
I think that's fine as well, though I do think there will certainly be some erosion that occurs, particularly in the early years, until it gets well vegetated.
As part of the erosion control plan, they submit,
Right.
they're responsible for monitoring.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion?
Make a motion that we pass number 2.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Number 3, will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater.
On the top.
I don't think that is applicable.
We put based on Jim's thing?
No, that doesn't apply, this is wastewater, septic, there's no septic.
It's not applicable.
It's not
Not
applicable,
not applicable.
but you should still make a motion that you agree.
I make a motion that we say that it's okay because it's, well, I make a motion that it's not applicable to this project.
I'll second that. All in favor? Unanimous?
Yep.
Okay. Number 4, will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat.
I think it's fine. I mean, there'd be less fish in the pond if he has a tournament. No, I'm not supposed to say that now.
It's catch and release, we don't.
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
They also included a disposal for milfoil inspection, which would be adequate, which would be corresponding to that
That's right.
condition.
Where do you want that for wildlife habitat?
What's that?
Yeah, but they've already addressed it, you don't need to add it in, they just,
Oh, yeah, okay.
it's part of their application.
Yep.
Okay. So I make a motion, well, no, we gotta go, keep going. I say yes. It's okay.
Well,
Yeah,
yes, I say yes.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to, okay, this does not have an adverse impact on everything.
Number 4.
Number 4. Yep. I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
I approve.
Unanimous? Okay, number 5. Will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters.
I don't know what that means.
Means basically they're minimizing the impact,
The visual impact.
the visual impact, and the actual point of contact with the water. So they're doing it in a minimalistic way to limit the impact of visual and
Okay.
coverage.
Yep.
I say yes, he's okay.
second, yes.
Good?
Okay.
Good, okay. Tina, want to make a motion?
Number 5.
Make a motion that we accept number 5, it's okay.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, number 6, will protect archaeological and historical resources as designated in the comprehensive plan.
I don't think this pertains, is non-applicable, is it? So any historic or
I think
archaeological
they
stuff up there?
provided information that there's no architectural, historical references in this location.
So it's
It's part
not,
of our
Yeah.
original plan.
like it's not applicable?
Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that number 6 pertaining to archaeological and historic resources is non-applicable for this project.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Number 7, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use. And, I don't know what the and is.
We don't need that. Oh,
And it's
yeah,
just
you
the
can
last,
conform it.
it's just the last condition. It's just, it's prompting you for number 8, that's all.
All right. What do you think?
Floodplain
Where's
development, I
section
don't know what that
15?
means. What is-
Does it apply? Is there any floodplain?
It's in the water.
It's in the
It's
water,
in the
it's
water.
not impacted.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's non-applicable.
It's, it just say it's improved, it's,
Okay.
it's there, it's just not
I'll-
impacting floodplains.
Then, all right, I'll make a motion that I'm doing, ready to make a motion yet, or just to
Sure,
do?
make a motion, go ahead.
All right, make a motion that it does not affect the floodplain.
Well, it avoids problems.
It avoids problems with the floodplain.
I'll second that. And any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
What is section 15?
Well, that's. The table, where the heck is the table? It's in
Can I make an
section.
observation? When you look at the land use, there is no section.
Yeah, I know, really. That's funny, isn't it, huh?
I think what the intention of that is supposed to be is if there were any specific criteria under this land use for that use.
Yeah.
We have certain uses that have criteria, then you'd have to apply that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether our land use, we have anything for,
In the schedule.
So there is no section 15, so that's obviously not applicable. Yeah, so we'll just put that
All
on.
right, I'll make a motion that number 8 is not applicable.
Okay. All right, so,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Unanimous.
now you have any conditions that you wish in the overall project.
Yes.
And we've already adopted 2.
Already done.
Yep.
Did you want to add anything about, well, you brought it up about the commercial use. Did you want to formally put that in there as a condition?
I believe that's up to code enforcement to enforce that. I don't think it's our,
I think it'd be valid to put on the record that the board acknowledged that this is not for the commercial use.
I'll make a motion, it's not for commercial use.
I'll second that. Oh, any discussion? No? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so now we have the 3 conditions. Is it 3?
3.
Yes.
You have the deed restriction for the lots. You have the fire access, and now you have not for commercial use.
Yes.
Can we add something for the milfoil check?
It's already in their application.
It's in the application, but not in the approval. He doesn't have a formal plan.
I am certified by the state in milfoil inspection and invasive species control, as well as all my.
Included in this application, they're providing you want the actual plan of how he disposes of the milfoil, or, because he has indicated in his application that he's providing a checkpoint and disposal for milfoil.
Maybe that it's always there, the checkpoint.
That is part of any use of anything in my space.
Who's going to be responsible for that anyway?
Well, he would be.
I'm the responsible party at any point.
Okay, how do you dispose of milfoil?
You take it to a dump.
Yeah.
We bag it up.
You gotta take it to a landfill.
The IFW puts on
Or
several.
compost.
It's kind of an honor system because nobody's going to police it, so.
Well, there are environmental groups that might go around. I don't know, is that
Yeah,
the
that's true, that's
jurisdiction of
pretty
LEA?
Yeah.
We have Southeast Pond under the jurisdiction of Lake Environmental Association?
We get trained every several years by the IFW, and that group up the road, the Lakeview, Sorry.
So typically, with milfoil, you just take it to the transfer station or something, so it
Yeah.
compost
The
it?
idea you can't reintroduce it back into the environment because you don't want to.
Okay.
We bag it up, and usually there's a post with, bags and stuff, like the dog stuff, when
Yeah.
you walk it up. There's something like that, pretty much, I don't know how many, but let's say 80% of the recreational lakes and ponds in Maine.
So is there any record of that, disposing of it?
When we have a bass program, for instance, we send two things to the state. One is the people who came and the people who left, and vouching that we have taken care of the inspection on the boat, on the trailer, and any other water that would be in the vessel.
If the board wants to give the code officer some kind of, authority, then by all means, add it as a condition.
Would you like that? I could do that, Christine?
I mean, if it's a condition of the approval, then if I go down there and see it, it's not functional, then I can do something about it.
So you want a condition for functional milfoil disposal?
Correct.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Now we move on to the approval of, or not of the project. Does anybody want to make a motion?
And the project is just the boat ramp.
Just the boat launch.
We have to make that clear.
Thank you, Keith.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Mr. Behan's project for a private boat launch, period.
With conditions?
With the conditions that the fire department can use it year-round, that the deeds,
You voted on them, so I think you just need to make
Yeah,
that.
we just-
with the conditions.
with the condition,
Did you say for personal use only and not for commercial?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
that's all in other things, right?
we've made.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this project as we have specified in previous motions.
Subject to the four.
Subject to
Subject to
For conditions.
Four
Yeah.
the
conditions.
4 conditions that we have voted on previously.
Is it 4 or 5?
Oh, come on, Jesus.
Let's see,
Make up my-
no
make
foil,
up my
fire,
minds.
no subdividing, and,
No commercial.
yeah, no commercial.
Good, okay. Good. 4, thank you.
Okay.
So make sure.
Second? Any second?
I'll second it.
Second, Bob seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Your
Go
business.
for it.
Your business.
Appreciate all the help.
You've been very patient.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir.
What is the next steps?
You need to work.
Check in with the code enforcement officer. She'll lead you in the right direction.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
She's a good girl.
Did you want a list of all the road
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for being patient.
Yes, this is a long run.
Yeah, okay, so
Who we got next?
item number 6, new business. Map 004, lot 014, for 17 Autumn Lane, pre-application meeting for Autumn Lane LLC for a minor amendment to an approved site plan review to construct a 20-foot by 20-foot roof cover over an existing patio. You want to make your presentation?
Sure, not much of a presentation, but it's,
That's fine.
the site plan is in front of you.
Yep.
It's,
Just an explanation of what you're doing.
yeah, it's a 20 by 20 dry storage area. We have rentals that come in glassware, things like that, linens, tent size, things like that, that just get left out in the rain. And so we want to create a dry storage area for those items. Easy drop off that's not inside the functional event area in the barn. So
Okay.
usually when you have 200 different types of glassware, like 200 wine glasses, 200 water glasses, 200 beer glasses, it's really difficult for all our staff to move like all of those pallets of things out of the way, and then they're out in the open.
Sure.
So it's just a little bit more sanitary.
So this is an extension of an existing roof?
Yeah, there's an existing bathroom facility, and so it's carrying the existing roof line another 20 feet out.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Does it have a pad under it already?
It doesn't, this will be, it'll be frost piers, precast frost piers.
Is this where it's going?
That's correct, yep, yep.
And that's a bathroom?
Yeah, there's a bathroom section on one side and then a storage side on the other.
The experience says that sometimes when you have a delivery, it's raining.
Exactly, we had,
Okay,
a
we
couple
got
years
it
ago, we had a
rainy,
really rainy season.
It's a simple one. They don't want the stuff to get wet.
Yeah, we need several pennies for specific.
Do we have a sheet, do we have to use that sheet to approve something this small?
What?
Well, I guess the question is, they're here tonight for pre-application, because we didn't know, they weren't able to pull something together, so we wanted to at least get them up for pre-application. If the board wants to forego that, then it's up to the board, but, we were caught because Christina can't approve it because it's over the 100 square feet allowed,
Right.
so
It's a
we just
pretty-
wanted to get it to the board. So if the board wants to forego public hearing and all that process, it's up to the board.
I think I saw the sketch, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
We thought so too.
Pretty basic living room.
So structurally, no issues in terms of all that?
They're using 4x4
It requires a
deckers.
building permit, so that would all be, the structural components would all be done with building.
Christine,
How does the board want to approach this?
Like to move it through?
Move it through?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay.
I second it.
So we're treating this as a site review application?
I have to, because it exceeds 100 square feet for an existing site plan, so it's
So what you're saying
it's
is-
amendment, it's one of those I kind of talked about before we started this whole evening. It's kind of one of those de minimis amendments that we get faced with.
I guess I'm not quite getting what it is from this little sketch here.
Here's a building, half of it's a bathroom, half of it's a storage room. Out here is a patio.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they deliver the linens, it's raining. They learn from experience, they want a roof over this.
So
That's all we're
basically
doing.
putting,
Yeah, and that sketch plan, it's just a small 20
It
by
isn't
20.
4x6x6s, it's not coming down. And it's wet, see, it's over here.
so there's a little building and we're just gonna put a thing out,
There's a big barn right there.
That's the wedding venue thing. This is way out here.
So this is some sort of a utility building and then they're gonna
Yeah.
put a place they can drive underneath and unload at the door?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
Either way.
won't be tall enough for like that they can back up to it.
Yeah, put it
Back
back
up
up.
to it, all right.
Yeah, I mean, a golf cart could fit in there, so it's not a main.
How many square feet?
It's
20 by 20, 400.
400 square feet.
Hey, look at the size of the timbers. That comes down wrong with 6x6. Can we just make a motion to pass it through?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Do we
We're
have to-
pre-application, so we would have to have an application.
We can pass it through if we want to, because it's so
All
minimalist.
right.
But I think the only thing we'd have to do is you would say you'd accept the material as part of the application, then you forego the public hearing.
I make a motion that the application is complete.
Yes. Is the application complete? Do we don't need any other drawings to tie it into the building or anything? Okay. That's fine.
We feel this is a
Well, that's up to her.
minor project
Yeah.
and that we have sufficient information for the application to be complete. That's what we're being told. Okay.
Yep, so David's made a motion that the application is complete.
I'll second it.
Second?
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Accept the application.
We accept the application.
I then make a motion to accept this amendment to the previous site plan,
Yeah, the Autumn Lane LLC
the Autumn Lane LLC
site plan.
site plan.
Back in what, 2018?
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Well, we should decide whether we want a public hearing and a site plan.
You have, okay, well, I'll just chime in, I think you have adequate
Well,
plans to
I don't,
locate it.
okay, we can, but we don't, for minor site plan review, you don't need a Public hearing, but yes, okay, let's vote.
We need to vote on it.
Okay, let's vote
I
on
make a
that.
motion that we don't, that we forego a public hearing.
Okay, I'll withdraw my
You
motion
got- David's got to withdraw his motion first.
Why is that?
because you're discussing
Yeah,
something else and
Yeah.
I'll make it after.
yeah. Go ahead, Tina.
I make a motion we forego the public hearing.
I'll second
It's a
that.
minor project.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, now you can vote, David.
I make a motion, we accept the site plan amendment for Autumn Lane LLC as submitted.
No, we need to vote whether we want a site plan, we want a site review, or a site walk.
Sidewalk?
I don't think you
I
have.
don't think we need one, but we need to
I'll make
make
a
that
motion.
motion.
I make a motion we forego a sidewalk.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
All right, now we may be ready for it.
Gotta be legal.
Yeah.
This is painful.
David, go.
Now I really have forgot. I make a motion that we accept the amendment application for Autumn Lane LLC.
Accept or approve?
Approve.
Thank you.
Sorry, my Autumn Lane LLC.
You're done good. You remember.
Second?
Did good for me.
Second, anybody?
A second, who's missing?
There we go.
Okay, Bob's gonna second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Go build your roof.
Thank you.
It's worth the wait.
Get on it.
Leave the babies
Yeah.
for now, too.
You got it, yeah.
This is gonna be open sided, don't be open trained.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, here we
I
go.
just want to point out a fact that since I worked with Sebago Technics, we did do a boundary plan for the original property owner on this, but we have no financial situation with the current application.
Okay,
We worked with the original owner, not the.
okay. Does it, anybody think that Jim has
I
any sort of
could recuse
conflict of
myself,
interest?
but I'll leave it to the board to decide if they want me to stay or go.
Do
Is
we-
there
we
any
have him-
current contractual relationship with anybody involved?
Don't believe we have any relationship with anybody involved currently.
Right.
Kurt, how would you feel? Do you want him to recuse himself?
I'm sorry, were you talking about, I thought you were talking about the other project.
No. He worked for Sebago Tech. Do you want him to recuse himself?
No.
Okay. Then
It's just a survey, it's nothing, it's nothing.
Should we do a motion on that? Vote on it?
Important, is it?
No,
No, don't need to? Okay,
but there's no,
all right. Next, application is map 023, lot 071, 286 Northwest River Road. Pre-application submitted by Ann Hudster, I think that's how you pronounce it, regarding a proposed plan to demolish an existing structure on a non-conforming lot and replace it with a new home. Go ahead and
Are you done?
present. Go
I'm
ahead and
sorry.
present, Kurt.
Kurt Christensen, I'm here to represent Ms. Ann Pudister. What we're proposing to do is tear down an existing structure, tear down the covered deck, tear down the garage, and rebuild. In doing so, we're going to straighten the building out. You all have copies of this, and I'm glad to show this around. It's just a little bit bigger, a little bit clearer. We're proposing to move the existing house back so the whole thing is beyond the 100-foot setback from shoreline zoning. We're going to turn the house sits kind of, I'm sorry, kind of kitty-cornered here. And we're going to make it more parallel with this property line. It's a non-conforming lot, as you all know. The sideline closest setback is 6.97 feet. We're gonna make that less non-conforming
8.3 feet, yep.
to 8, you all seen it, brother, to 8.3 feet, making it on the far property line 15.7. We hate to go to 15 because it's always, are you at 15 or not exactly 15. Everything, like I said before, will be beyond the 100-foot setback. The garage will be moved to to be less non-conforming from 14 and a half feet to 16 feet. The existing well is less than 100 feet from the existing septic system, so we're proposing to make that 100 feet. It's all been approved and everything's fine, but if we're doing it, I'd rather have, if it was my well, I wouldn't mind it being a little further than closer.
Where's the well going to it?
The well's gonna be in the front, right in here, right in front of the deck. We haven't,
60 to 100 feet from each other, where's the septic?
the septic's in the back. Yeah.
Where's the 100-foot line?
The existing, you wanna know on the,
Where the 100-foot line is essentially, yeah.
it's right on the corner of the existing house, yeah.
And on that line, it's on the other side.
On this
that
side,
line, it's
it's gonna be right at the deck.
at the deck, okay.
Yeah. So, open to any questions,
Board members have any questions?
comments, concerns?
How high is the proposed structure, Kurt?
I don't have an exact elevation, David, but the proposed structure is probably gonna be around 20 to 25. It can be up to 35, I believe, beyond the 100-foot setback, but we're nowhere near.
Yep.
Well, it's a single, I mean, it's one floor.
It's gonna be one floor, it's gonna have a pitched roof like this.
Yeah.
You know, not an A-frame roof, so it's not gonna be real high. But Christina will keep me in line with height restrictions.
Crack your whip on him, Christina.
When I was looking at the plan, the thing I don't see is the parking.
Parking is beyond the garage. In the garage and in front of the garage.
You have, is it the 2 spaces that are required for parking?
It's what's existing now,
It's what's existing now. So it's that's grandfathered too.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yes, Jim?
So, under shoreland zone, I'm just going to point you to this section, I'll let you read it, and you can have a discussion. On page 10, reconstruction or replacement, it's under article,
Is that like page 10 or something?
yes, it's under non-conforming structures, C, 1, 2, 3, reconstruction or replacement. This is where I was kind of getting hung up, and maybe the board's got some knowledge I don't. In the middle of that first paragraph, if the reconstructed or replacement structure is less than the required setback, it shall not be any larger than the original structure except allowed pursuant to section 12C1 above, as determined by the non-conforming floor area volume of the reconstructed or replaced structure at its new location. So I guess I go to C12C1, which talks about expansions. So I guess the question is, if this structure is bigger than the original structure, does it have to conform to the side setback?
Doesn't that address only 75 buildings, 75 feet
I
from the water?
don't know, Dave, because I look at the reconstruction and replacement section and it doesn't reference that.
So it says 4 structures located less than 75 feet from the normal high water mark, yada yada, stream, wetland, the maximum combined total footprint should be. So I think it speaks only to structures within 75 feet of the water.
Under that section 3?
You said 1.
Resource protection.
No,
I
3.
understand, but I can't figure.
David, I think you're correct, because I believe beyond a 100-foot setback, you're not limited in your square footage.
Right.
Beyond 100. From 75,
Yeah.
there's a limitation, and then if you're at 50,
But
there's another limitation.
all I'm asking is about, not what the limitation is, but I think with the new structures, what I'm getting at, I don't know whether you get the encroachment into the side setback, is what I'm getting at.
Well,
You mean the
Because it's a new structure at that point.
yeah, but is it not less conforming?
I don't know because it's a replacement, so I mean, in many cases, that deals with expansion or things like that. I don't know with reconstruction or relocation.
What section were you talking about again?
It's on section 3, C3.
Page 9, page 10, excuse me.
Page 10,
And
number
and I'm not trying to make waves here, but that just, I didn't know how to interpret that.
But if it's,
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
struggling
but
with that too.
it's referring to 12C1,
It's
right?
talking about structures within that 100-foot setback
Right.
though. It's
Right.
Does it say that in that section?
Yeah, that whole section is about.
See, it refers to that 12C1,
Yeah,
which goes back to
right,
75 foot.
the 75 foot.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I think because it does pertain to 12C1, I think it does go back to the less than 100-foot setback.
That's been the indication in other towns, not
Yeah.
saying that it's not in this town.
This ordinance is
But-
terrible. It's
Well, this
hard-
is
it's hard to-
state anyway, I believe.
Yeah.
If it's state,
And
then
again,
that's the way it is in other towns.
Yeah.
So again, I just asked the question, I understand that deals with, but now we're outside of 100.
Yeah,
Does the new structure have to comply with the current setbacks? And that's all I'm asking.
I think it does, but then it talks about greatest practical extent.
Right.
In terms of sizing within the lot. So it would be a notion of, is the 8.3 feet okay or not?
right. Greatest practical extent. I know you're in shoreline zoning, again, it's greatest practical extent stuff now. It's so unclear.
Yeah.
It's completely, it's
So
unclear.
would you rather have a new house 6 feet from the line or 8 feet
Yeah,
from
no,
the line?
that's true.
You know?
No, I'm
We're
just,
doing what we can to make it
I
less.
get that. I get
Less
that.
non-
all I'm saying is it's a larger structure than was originally there.
Yep.
All I'm saying is that it should have to meet, I think it should have to meet, but you guys are as much experts on this as I am.
Well, I'd
I
like
think
to,
it
I
should meet
certainly
the
would like
side
to
setback.
see it have the 15-foot minimum
Yeah.
on
It's
that
not
side.
possible.
I don't know if there's a way
So
to,
if you
It's
have,
not possible.
no.
if you have an existing structure 6 feet from the line, can't you extend that 6 feet all the way out?
You can, but in this case, we're demolishing the building.
I get that.
That's where you kind of.
I could leave it there. I could leave the building there.
Right, that,
And leave the whole thing at 6 feet.
exactly, that
So-
unfortunately I do agree with.
Yeah, no, that's
So
what I'm saying.
we're trying to
It doesn't,
make it
that's what I'm saying.
more,
It doesn't.
or trying to make it less non-conforming,
Which,
not more non-conforming.
Well, I guess the question is, do you lose the non-conformance when you demolish the structure, is what I'm getting at.
And we ran into that with that
so
last
I
project.
just
That's
read
right.
that and took notes, so hang on.
And whatever the board wants to do, I'm just asking the question. If the board feels it's the less practical, then I'm fine, I'm confused by the,
Even if you go back even section 2.6, says, should any structure exclusive of the foundation be destroyed or damaged by any means exclusive of the planned demolition, said structure may be rebuilt on the existing foundation to the dimensions of the structure which was destroyed, providing rebuilding is begun within a year, so.
but that's saving the foundation, here we're demolishing everything.
That's exactly right.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
no, I
fine
know.
print, it's fine detail, whatever the board wants to do,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I wish the ordinance was
attention.
more clear on it and actually was, giving you.
Remember what I've said, David, no matter how many times an ordinance is rewritten, it is never, ever going to cover all things. Because Mr. Christensen just found a lot he's gonna put a house on that doesn't fit, it's not square.
Yeah.
So it's less non-conforming, so we need to go with that.
That's
And
how
not
it's
split
been,
hairs.
that's how it is in other towns.
That's the way
how
it should be,
Has
Kurt.
been in the past.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think the ordinance actually comes out and says you can't.
That's what I'm saying, so now,
Oh,
don't overthink it, is what I'm trying to say. And that's what I think we do too much of, is
What's the
overthink.
square footage of the current, ground floor of the currently existing building?
I don't have that on the top of my head.
Are you making the,
The new building, will be bigger. So
Gonna
it's a
be more
lot-
square footage
You
of
said
the-
it will have more square footage, but not a lot more when you add in the covered porch. in the house, so it will be bigger.
But the garage is remaining, correct?
The garage is remaining.
It's just the house. The house will be bigger. I don't know.
But you said it was up like 20% and it could be.
I think if it were, I think if it were a two-story building, you could argue the point that it would make it more non-conforming, but it's still a single-story building like it was, so actually it's, I don't
Well,
think.
current
really- it's not-
shoreline zoning is based on footprint now.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about the non-conforming part, just the non-conforming part of the ordinance that if you actually went.
A lot of towns too, not to diss on anybody, but a lot of towns, this wouldn't go to a planning board. This would be done with the
CEO.
the CEO and the planner, like in Standish.
Yeah.
You'd work with the planner and the CEO.
But I think the fact that it's pulled back 100 feet is the win.
That's, yeah.
That's right.
That was,
I
that was.
just,
And
again, I
Yeah.
just, shoreline zoning in my world is difficult to comprehend sometimes, and so relocation, replacement, expansion, all those kind of terms.
These ordinances are really designed for property that's within the 100 feet, not outside 100 feet.
Yeah, shoreline zoning more concentrates on.
Yeah.
The building itself,
Less than
though,
100
is
feet,
not
right?
within
Yeah,
100
yeah,
feet,
yeah.
correct?
What's that?
The building itself is not within 100 feet.
No, it's not, it's
Not
just
the way he's
outside.
redone it.
He's back 100 feet.
He's back beyond
He's
the.
back, he took the old building, he's demolishing the old building, which was closer, he's putting that back at 100 feet. The only thing that's in question, if anything, is the side setback, because it doesn't conform with the existing zoning, but it's less than the original structure.
So he actually is making it less non-conforming.
Less.
And further away from the water.
Right further away from the water, yeah.
And I don't know if it matters, but it might matter, it should matter a little bit,
So-
I guess. Which way are we going? So this is the property in question. This piece of property here has recently been purchased by the same owner.
Oh, it is.
So, Jim,
And there's a building on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And was
So
remodeled.
they're contiguous lots, but they have buildings on them, so it doesn't.
They're not contiguous, they were bought separately.
There's lots of records.
There are lots of record bought
Okay.
separately, so the same person owns this lot is gonna be building this house, so.
So he's saying, is the chance of it being appealed in a...
She's not gonna be mad that we moved
So
it
she could grant herself an easement, kind of.
I guess she could, yeah.
We need an ordinance for that, so you can grant yourself an easement.
Yeah, okay.
Well, what it seems to be saying is you can't, on section 3, is that you can't enlarge it, but if you look at the language in section, that it refers to, 12C2, it does say, in fact, that it can be moved as long as it meets the greatest practical extent.
right, I read this as setback, and to me it meant setback,
For
water setback,
Yeah,
not
for water.
sideline setback.
That's my point. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, water setback is the big,
That's the big one.
Right.
big to do.
Right, so he's beyond that.
Beyond that, so, all right.
So how do you apply the side setback is all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking to you.
Well, where does it restrict, doesn't restrict the side setback there. He's making it less non-conforming.
Normally, you'd have a 15-foot setback on the sides.
I think the ordinance would
This
have,
is making, it can't be because there's not enough room.
Right, he's increasing the setback by 30%,
Whatever the percentage is,
so, sounds good in your
to the
favor.
greatest practical extent.
Greatest practical extent, and that's your practical extent, and my practical extent, and Tina's practical extent. Where do you get into,
Yeah,
what is,
okay. So, in your square footage, your 20% square footage calculations, the driveway's not included, do you know what that square footage?
the driveway is included.
It is
Actually, what I have here has been updated from what you have, David.
Oh, okay.
So if we include the driveway, the existing is 12. What you have on your plan is what, maybe
17.
17?
Yeah, yeah.
if we include the driveway, it's
there you
19,
go, okay.
it's 19.5.
Makes it-
So basically,
And that question, is what you're asking me, is that lot coverage? Or is that building coverage or impervious surface?
Impervious surface.
Impervious surface, so that's what we based this on, was impervious surface.
Right,
and all we're talking about is this little triangle shape,
Yeah,
because the rest of it would all
yeah,
fit
that's
within.
right, the rest
And
of it all meets the setback
In that
requirements, that little
section 3.
triangular piece there, yeah.
And this is the statement
Could
that
he set the building back to fit inside that little area, and then we still got the...
So here's the statement that just, actually is the one
Up against the
If the
garage.
total amount of floor area and volume of the original structure can be relocated or reconstructed beyond the required setback area, no portion of the relocated or reconstructed structure shall be replaced or constructed at less than the setback requirement for a new structure.
Okay.
What the heck does that mean? I think it's using different setback. I think it's, to your point, it's looking at the lake setback and it's just very confusing. Again, you guys, if you feel it's most extent
Yeah,
practical.
to Paul's point, it's just that little triangular shape
That's it.
portion of the
That's all I
building.
got too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the abutting property is owned by the same property owner, so it's like, I don't know, it's,
I think you just need to decide and move on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
We
it
can
meets
spend
the
months on
greatest
this one.
practical extent.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think that's what.
yeah, we don't want to go that way.
Well, you might slide the whole building back another 10 feet and fit it in.
Well, you can't because he's
No,
he's utilizing the garage.
There's a large garage.
The septic.
It's very
Well, do we feel that we can make the exception and allow that? Is that your opinion?
Yeah,
So do we think
Also,
this
like Christina's
application,
cat camp behind.
do we think this application is complete? Is that what we're,
I think we're looking for definition, they're looking for greatest extent practical.
yes.
yeah, but, yeah, this is pre-application, maybe we don't even have have a plan, we can't approve that tonight, can we?
I would think you could vote on that tonight, because it's just a basic, this isn't gonna require a public
I would
hearing.
make a motion that we find the application complete.
Well, first, we need to decide sidewalk, public hearing, fees paid, and then go to that.
Okay.
All right, do anybody feel like we need a site walk? Anybody feel like we need a public hearing? Okay, I will withdraw my first motion. I make a motion that we,
Do we have to make a motion on that, or no?
No, he wants to know. All I need to, I'd say it's a fairly closely set neighborhood. People might be interested in knowing what's going on. That's the only
Oh,
thing.
wait, no, you didn't have to do the intent to file, did you?
Did not.
Okay, sorry.
All the neighbors have been notified. I'm actually one of the, I'm the neighbor on this side, then there's that property, and then Ian is the neighbor on the other side, and across the street is her brother.
I think we got it covered.
So, I mean, everybody has been
well,
notified.
Paul makes a good point, though.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably have to run this another meeting, huh?
I'd really like to get going on this project with being springtime, and if there's
We
something,
have-
if
we
there's
have-
something you want to do, could we do it conditionally?
We have another meeting on the 29th.
I'm not gonna argue with you, but I'm just saying that I'd like to get going on it, and
Yeah.
if there's anything we can do to facilitate it, I'd be glad to help out. And
So I haven't done too many shoreland zoning things, Paul, do we?
Well, we're relocating it to make it less non-conforming. It's past the 100-foot setback, and it seems to, you could say it's, the greatest practical extent is determined by the planning board. So I do believe we have the authority to do that. The question is, in such a close neighborhood, whether you want to see if the neighbors have any objections.
Did you hear what he said about who the neighbors are?
Well, there's a formally done thing, and then there's an informally done thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you, I can't argue with that, Paul.
Yeah.
But we might be able to do it for the 2 weeks from now, and there's no reason not
You got
to.
right on it, you could probably meet the 29th deadline.
whatever you asked me to do, I'll be on
Okay.
it, believe me.
Do we need to go down there and look at it yes or no? I mean, I can see from the
No, I
map
don't think-
what
I
the
don't-
issue
I
is.
don't think we do.
I'm pretty
I don't
familiar
think we
with
need a
it.
sidewalk.
Well, we can make.
Like I
both.
said, typically this is done just with the code enforcement
Yeah.
officer, so, I mean, you're welcome to come look at it, I'll give you a tour, if that's what you guys wanna do.
So, the original house was 997 square feet.
I'd like to look at it only because it's short.
You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, I'd like to take
And the
it.
original house was within the 100-foot.
But it was inside the 100 foot, yeah.
All right, so that's making it about less.
Right. I don't think that's the discussion, I think it's, the only discussion is the side setback, that's all.
Well, basically, the fees have been paid, correct? We need to
Yeah.
decide.
I gave Christina a check, I don't know what went where, but I gave her a couple
Fees
checks.
have been paid, do we
So
feel we need the sidewalk? Yes or
Just
no?
answer the
Correct.
That's good for paid, yeah.
He's paid the escrow, the pre-application, and the application.
Okay.
So you need to decide whether you want a sidewalk or a public hearing.
You want to make a motion, Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for a sidewalk, actually.
We would like
It's a
to have-
shoreland zone and the likes of the, good to see, it was pretty tight down there.
Okay. How's everybody else feel?
I don't care.
I'll second
Second
it,
it?
Bob, if you're not comfortable.
Okay,
Yeah.
second, any discussion? All in favor?
When are you gonna have it?
Abstain?
No, I
Against?
don't even think we need one.
Opposed?
Opposed.
So we will hold a site walk. What's a good date for everybody?
As soon as we can do it legally.
As soon as we can do it. Yeah.
So we need what?
What do we need for notice on the site walk?
The same notice as any. Yes.
Can we do it on the 24th?
Okay.
Well, what's the date today, the 8th?
Yeah.
We need, how many days?
It needs to go in the paper 2 times, and we could probably get it in the paper for tomorrow, like tomorrow morning for this.
This 2 times thing is.
Does it need to go in the paper if we're not doing a public hearing?
It's a site.
I thought you were doing public.
No,
no, no,
public hearing, just a site walk.
Just a
Oh,
sidewalk.
okay, so yeah,
7 days or something?
Yeah, just a
7
site.
days.
Yeah,
We're gonna do a public.
7 days, 10 days for the newspaper.
24th at what time?
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock?
What day of the week is that?
Thursday.
So you said 24th?
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
24th.
I'm okay with earlier. Folks, I'm good with it.
Okay, so the 24th at 10 o'clock, we'll do a site walk.
That is AM, right?
That is AM.
Just checking.
Now you're another one.
Okay, and so we will table this
Well,
after.
you need to address whether you want to do a public hearing.
I don't believe we need a public hearing. Does anybody think?
I make a motion that we forego a public hearing.
I'll second that. Discussion?
I have to say that in a close neighborhood like that, people would like to be informed, so I'll just make that comment.
All the abutters, like I said, are either related or myself.
Yeah.
That's why I did.
So everybody's been informed.
I don't
Yeah, I know.
know what's down there, so I'm not really, I don't know what building you're talking about.
Could we do a public hearing on,
Public hearing, you're way out, you're another month out because of all the,
We're going to do a public hearing on the 29th,
we
so
could, yeah. Do we have
we
time?
can have 2 public hearings on the
Put it on the
29th.
29th, okay.
But he was hearing, nobody's hearing what he's
What?
saying.
Accept the application.
Same time? Not at the same time.
still trying to publicize them.
If you
The
have a public
advertisement,
hearing, it
everything
makes it less
for the
likely
same
that
amount
somebody
of
can
time?
come back later and complain, that's the only
Oh, no, we can't.
concern I have.
10 days and 7 days, is that what it is for a
Okay,
public hearing?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, on the 29th, it's like 3 Tuesdays away.
Yeah, okay. So we could do a public hearing and then we could do,
Oh, no, we weren't gonna do a public hearing, were we?
A minute ago, we weren't.
There's a motion right now.
If you listen to what he, Paul,
there's a motion to forego the public hearing, has it been seconded?
Yes.
Okay, and so we're having discussion right now about it. And.
what Paul is saying is that if we had a public hearing, then we'd be less liable for somebody to come back at us. But as Kurt is saying, it's either relatives or him that are the neighbors.
So there's unlikely to be much of a, you
And
know,
even if a neighbor
objection.
if I
You would just
complain, I
check in
still
the
have no
law.
leg to stand on about if my neighbor wants to rebuild his house.
Phil's got
As
a
the
comment.
butter, I can complain, but it's his house.
Well, the thing is, Kurt, you could formally complain that there wasn't properly held public hearing.
Oh,
That would be the thing you're talking about.
okay.
So the best way would be to hold it, and that's something that you don't have to worry about coming back.
Somebody could appeal that.
Why I always go for public hearings, basically.
Phil's got a comment.
Good, I'll go.
Just a couple of questions, I guess. This is a house, it's not an, accessory building, correct?
Yeah,
Correct?
exactly.
You're going past the 100-foot mark, so you're now out of the shoreland zoning, right?
No, you're still in shoreline zone.
Still sure.
Oh, all right, you're within the 250. So,
To the floodplain.
So you can pretty much do what you want beyond the 100-foot setback.
right.
Closer
The
than
only
100,
issue
you're
is
very, you're restricted.
Is
Your
he wants a
notification-
non-conforming setback.
Yeah.
So the only reason I would have a public hearing would be that no one could come back in the future and said they weren't allowed a public opportunity to say whatever they want to
But I
say.
think we had another one recently, and I don't think we did public hearing.
No, we didn't.
That's what I was just getting at.
Yeah, we didn't do a public hearing on that one.
Well, I was in favor of that, though, but then,
Right, I'm just, trying to, if it's.
just thinking to maybe to overthink.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to not
Yeah,
hold
to
a
not
public
have a
hearing.
public hearing.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, how many, all in favor
Of what?
of not having a public hearing?
So three for not having a public hearing?
Did you vote not to have a public hearing?
I didn't vote for whatever you voted.
So,
So all those in favor of not having a public hearing?
Not having a public hearing. What, did I say
Can
two
we try
knots?
that again, David?
Did I throw two knots in there?
No.
Just,
Said
No,
of
don't
not-
do that.
All those in favor of not having a
Not
public
holding a
hearing?
public
Of
hearing.
foregoing the public.
Okay, foregoing a public hearing, excuse me, I got my,
That's what you voted on.
all right. Garrett, can you read that back again, please?
So Tina motioned to forego the public hearing, you seconded.
Okay,
And
we had
so-
the discussion,
Yep,
now we're voting on that.
so if you vote
Motion.
yes here, you don't want the public hearing.
correct.
There we go.
and you voted three to,
All in favor? We'll vote one more time to make sure that we got this correct. All in favor of David's motion?
No,
Of Tina's.
Tina's
Oh,
motion.
Tina's motion, excuse me. All in favor of Tina's motion?
Favor of your own motion? Tina, are you in favor of your own motion?
What?
Put your hand up if you're in favor of your.
I am. I'm doing a drum roll so that we can get the vote.
All right, so
All
we got
right.
three.
Yay.
3-2.
I'll just say I'm into touching the bases these days.
All opposed?
right.
All
I'll
opposed?
abstain.
All's abstaining, David, you're
And I
opposed.
don't like it,
Against
but
it.
somebody kept screaming they didn't have a hearing.
I wanna go
So
home.
there's,
We're almost there.
Holy
there's no public hearing for this.
So you have a site walk at 10 AM on the 24th,
yes,
and you'll have a meeting on this on the 29th.
on the 29th.
Just a regular meeting. You'll be back on the 29th.
So what are we doing at that?
And this is our opportunity to
So
make
now-
sure.
Oh, if you have.
I'm not sure, I'll get with
Need a motion to table
Site walk on the
this?
24th, and we'll come back.
Actually, we need a motion to table this as free application. Hearing till the 29th.
We need to make a motion to
Have an application hearing.
Okay. Just, all
We
right,
need,
so.
we need to make a motion to have an application hearing on the 29th.
Thank you.
No, on
Whoa.
the next,
Excuse me, the 24th.
Have I done a formal?
24th, excuse me.
I thought that was a site walk.
That's the sidewalk.
I
Oh,
think
the
it's
29th.
It is the
29th. It is the 29th.
application, but you pay
Thought I'm all
for
screwed up.
the actual application.
I think our new system that's been adopted requires us to have a pre-application and then the regular scheduled meeting, next regular scheduled meeting.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Because the purpose was to
So-
allow persons to,
Let me ask this question. That applies to site plans, to subdivision.
right,
What is this? Is this a,
site,
Is it? It's a single family.
This is similar to what you just reviewed.
Right, this is the request for greatest extent practical, so it doesn't fall under site plan or subdivision.
Characterized somehow.
It wasn't really greatest extent practice.
Why don't you?
It wasn't ever, it wasn't really in the 100-foot setback.
Well, the deck was.
But he's moving it beyond, I
Right.
mean, I don't know that the deck was,
The deck was.
it was,
Yeah,
okay.
5 feet.
Yeah. So then it comes down to the sidelines, right?
That's the only one he's encroaching on.
Right, but what category do we put that in? It's not site plan review, it's not subdivision review.
Still gotta go through the process.
I don't know.
Right, but which process?
I was thinking along the
Sidewalk next 29th, right?
Yeah,
24th.
24.
what I would recommend is that, can I make, just my thought?
Yeah.
That you have the site walk, you've already voted on that. Then you come back on the 29th, and we'll discuss the site walk and make determination at that meeting. Yeah, they've accepted the application already.
Here it says no.
Wait, did you motion to accept the application?
I thought I made a motion, but
I thought we did that in the beginning of it.
Was that at the beginning?
Okay, Garrett, where are we?
is everybody in agreement that we accepted the application?
Yes. We accepted the
I
application.
make a motion that we accept the application as complete.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Well, do you feel the application?
Yeah, what we do.
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the application?
So now you've cleared the path, they're having a site walk on the 24th. After the site walk, you can come back, discuss it, and then you can make your motion as to what decision you make on the 29th.
And I raise one question, is that given our new procedure that we've adopted, are we required to have a month between pre-application and final decision? Because it was the purpose of such a thing is to give some time for persons to intervene if they wish to.
I think that was for
Taking a
major,
position.
that was for major site plans, not
Major site. All right.
What time's the meeting on the 29th? We having a
6
workshop
o'clock.
before or just a
Yep.
meeting?
So, you have
So
to
the other
make a
question-
motion?
I just-
to
yeah.
have a meeting on the 29th?
Mr.
You
Chair?
make a motion to have.
Okay, go ahead, make
Make a
a motion.
motion to have a planning board meeting on the 29th at 6 PM.
Yes.
So, with that, with the next application review, does he need to put out butter notices for that?
Yeah, that was my question. I just don't want that to come up next meeting and say,
I
oh,
think that would
you forgot
address
to do.
your concerns if the butters were notified. I would recommend.
I'd rather do it and then have you guys say, oh, you forgot to do this.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want it done, I think
Yes.
Paul may like it.
I think it
Notify
covers
the
the
guys.
bases that butters.
But you do process things, Kurt. In other words, you want to make sure you touched enough touch the bases you need to touch that somebody in the future couldn't say, oh, you failed to do this and therefore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my thinking, that's all.
And are we now doing, is the town now notifying about us?
No.
Not yet.
I'm doing it.
We're not there
But you
yet.
need to prove it to me.
Yeah.
We need
Give me a
to
list.
give her the list.
I'll give you a list, I did it. No, that all has to be certified, right? Certified, how that works.
And I make a
Well,
motion
the
that,
town was doing that, and we're going back to.
One other thing,
Did you guys vote on the motion to have the meeting on the 29th?
yeah, we need to do that.
I don't think you
I made a
voted.
motion to have a meeting
You
on
made the
the...
motion, motion
At
second.
6.
okay, who seconded it?
And add to that
Bob
motion,
seconded it.
add to that motion that the applicant will notify the abutters.
Motion to have a meeting on the 29th. Applicant will notify the abutters. Tina made a motion, Bob seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, and one other thing, Kurt, is, the only other thing is that septic system is more than 10 years old, so it needs to be pumped out.
Are we, I know that is in an ordinance, but are we enforcing that now?
Well, it's an.
I don't want to be the first
It's an
one.
enforceable ordinance.
It
Are
says
you,
that I may,
what's that?
it says that I may enforce it.
Well, we need some sort of determination as a functioning septic system.
Isn't that between me, isn't that up to me to determine, me and the homeowner?
Okay.
Do you and
I
the
mean, I'll do whatever you ask, because,
You and the homeowner? and the
actually,
CEO?
I came prepared for that,
Yeah. I just,
if that's what you'd like.
definitely good.
I don't really agree with it, but, I'll share this with you.
Oh, you want to get it?
I had it done today.
Oh, cool.
I had it
There you
inspected
go.
yesterday.
Wonderful.
I'm just thinking if,
Do you,
You want me to keep that?
I can keep it and give it to Christina,
Sure.
if she can put it in the file or whatever you want to do.
Yes, yeah, no, I just,
I just think if I was putting in a brand new house, I want a picture of the septic.
yeah.
I agree with that, but I don't think we should have an ordinance requiring you to pump your septic system.
Well, it's only with the shoreline zoning for whatever, for obvious reasons, I guess, because it's so densely packed down there, you know.
Can
it's-
I mean, Christina, as part of the building permit application, you're utilizing existing septic system, so I assume it would be inspected at some point before occupancy, so I think we got it covered.
It has to,
Okay.
yeah. And actually, that overflow is good for the lake, because it creates feed for the smelts.
Accepted the bylaws, yet?
No, you still need to
Good
do
for the mill flow, too.
So you're gonna do it.
it. You have to accept, you have, the last
Well, thank you all, appreciate your time. I know everyone wants to go home, but thank you very much for your time and what you do.
All right.
Do a good job.
So the last
I'm not
thing
trying to
you
get
need
you
to do
Hey,
is set the
somebody want-
bylaws with Bob's addition.
Oh, so we can't do it tonight?
You can.
Oh,
You can vote to accept the bylaws.
Yes, we can.
all right.
Yep.
Will you do that now, so I can vote?
Let's do it. Let's do it. He's got that copy. You
I
might
put
put
it
it
on
on
your-
somewhere.
around there.
In my file. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to accept the bylaws as written?
I'm making an amendment to June.
Make a motion?
I'm making a motion. We accept the bylaws as written.
I'll second that motion.
We're not doing
Any discussion?
Tyler will be there.
No discussion. All in favor? All right.
Hearing at that.
There we go. Now do we all want to, question is, do we all want to put John Henry on it? So.
Motion adjourned.
We're not. Oh, we're having a public hearing for the ordinance for ordinances. We're having,
Mine gets too soggy.
but we're not having,
I lose patience after a while. People get talking and
we're not having a public.
David, adjourn. Make a motion.
I make a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
We're gonna approve the,
Second, all in favor? We're done.
we're done?
Good night.
Are we all set with the, that was the one we just did. With the,
I said they have these at 10 in the morning
The
and
bylaws, I wanted everybody to
they
sign.
have these at 10 in the morning.
Have you got that, another copy of that
I'm
bylaws?
a morning person. This time of the night, I just.
so we wanna sign these?
Oh, no, don't run off, Paul. Everybody can sign the bylaws, yeah.
I don't have to sign a code of ethics and all that.
Whatever.